Hey, everybody's happy Tuesday, February the 27th, love bugs. Welcome to the video, y'all. Let's get this intro done and we're gonna get in it. When we step out, we say the whole team clean. Shelly whole bar whenever we step in. If you violate, it is a crime scene. Happy bonus flipping at the morning. Give thanks to Father God before the dawning. Haters jealous of the life where we living. Bun dirty bad mind from the beginning. Me have the berry tag, I just so read a pull. Pussy violate them, get them blood drip. Send where them brain pan. Hello. It's your girl. Say my name, say my name, say my name, say my name. Queen Blahma. And I'm back, y'all, for another live reaction. Y'all know how we like to do? We are back for another live reaction. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Smack that likety-like button on the way in. Welcome back to the channel, love bugs. We are here to finally finish this series, y'all. I really wasn't gonna finish it. I wasn't gonna finish it. I said, forget that. Y'all know my attention is not there for no 52 parts. I just cannot. Hey, Toy Toy, welcome to the chat, sis. But we're gonna finish it, y'all. There is a channel on YouTube that has all 52 parts, and we're gonna watch the rest of them on that channel. Hopefully everything is in order and we don't have to go back and forth, back and forth. It had honestly, it was getting on my nerves. Like, child. She had I think she had part 1 through like 15 in a playlist. But then once it got past 15 or 16 or something, you got to go back to the channel and find the corresponding number that you need. I was like, girl, please. Oh, absolutely not. I haven't been diagnosed with ADHD, but I ain't doing it. I am not gonna do it, y'all. So we found it on YouTube. I've been seeing it on YouTube. I just, like I said, I wasn't gonna finish it, y'all. My patience ain't with it. I said, hell no, my name is Bennett and I ain't in it. Can't do no 52 parts. So the title was part 24 through 52, but I changed that quick. I said part 24 and on. However far we go, because I don't have the patience for the patience. But we gonna try, y'all. I know for a fact we got to part 23, and I think we got through part 23. But we just gonna pick up right here. Y'all smack the likety-like button, and we gonna get in it, because y'all see, this dang on video is 7 hours long. So in order to get through 52 parts without any commentary or anything, it is 7 hours. Who gonna do that? Who gonna do that? Not me. Can't do it. I can't do it, y'all. But she uploaded a couple recent videos, and the one from, I believe, this past Saturday, she's not even monetized on TikTok, y'all. She did 52 parts. Them parts got dang near 4, 5, 10 million views each. And she's not monetized on TikTok. She said that she applied for monetization halfway through the series and she was accepted into the partnership, but then she was immediately suspended for re-upload of videos. If you looked through the videos, I know part 15 was uploaded twice for a fact because it was a mistake in it. So she had to re-upload it. But they suspended her back out of the TikTok partnership for re-uploaded videos. So she don't get paid, y'all, for just hold y'all brains real quick and think about that. The girl literally broke TikTok. Y'all might not want to give her flowers, but she broke TikTok for a good week. And TikTok let her in the program, then they suspended her instantly. Mm. I don't. If they don't tell y'all something, y'all ain't thinking for real because ain't absolutely not. Millions of millions of millions of views. Child, these social media platforms are something else. But I'm gonna click play, y'all.
Legion, that's not his name, y'all. That's a nickname. Legion, why would you not show your wife your savings account? Like what's going on here? And so he made
Finish
up some
it.
bullshit.
Shoot.
And I remember the
I don't know
pastor's
if we're gonna
wife was
finish
like,
it.
something ain't right. And so at this point, Legion kind of
I'm gonna
shuts down.
try though.
He's just like, look, y'all are not gonna tell me when and where I open up my accounts to show anybody the money I earned. I earn that money. I earn that money by playing football, blood, sweat, and tears.
Hmm. You want to say that again? I'm not gonna interrupt it, y'all. I'm gonna mute myself in a second. But that comment you made, but everybody else got paid. Look at how many views this video got on this channel. When I first seen this channel, it was 740 something subscribers. It had like 50,000 views. This video has 206,000 views. Y'all know how much money that is? I know people that aren't content creators have no clue how much money that is on the YouTube streets. 206,000 views. Child. Hmm. A quick estimate. Just a quick estimate. I could tell you that's more than $3,500. And that was just a quick estimate off the top of my head, and it's very off because 206,000 views equals far more than $3,000. But that was just a low estimate of what child, and she ain't got nothing for her videos. Oh, girl.
He went to this whole Denzel Washington monologue about how he earned that money and no woman, no one is going to come in and tell him that he needs to open up the account. So then he starts talking about the ex-wife and how she tried to get money from him in the divorce back when they were in California. So now the pastor and his wife, their red flags are just like, whoa. So much so that the pastor's wife said, and I will never forget this. She said, I don't think you all are going to make it to January. What she was talking about is, I don't think y'all are going to make it a year. And I really, truly was like, we're going to make it. Like, of course we're going to make it. And she was just like, I don't have a good feeling about it. And so Legion's all defensive. He at this point he's folding his arms and because remember we're on Zoom. He's folding his arms and he's just like, I'm done with this. Like, I'm not gonna get attacked because I'm not comfortable showing you the amount of money that I have. Money changes people. And I'm not comfortable. So he's playing that victim card. Um, and so the pastor and his wife were like, we're still gonna help y'all as much as we can. But so he was like, I'm not comfortable. And basically, the pastor and his wife were like, look, we'll help y'all as much as we can, but there's some deep issues here. And, this is what they advised us. Had the two of you came to us for premarital counseling, we would have told you, do not get married. Y'all should not even be together. That is what our that is what the pastor and his wife told us in marriage counseling. If you two had come to us for premarital counseling, we would have told you y'all should not even be together, let alone get married. But here we are. So we will help you guys as much as we can. But the pastor's wife was like, I don't have a good feeling that y'all are going to make it a year. Part 24, who the fuck did I marry? So remember, we're in April. We're now moving towards the end of April, and he still did not show me his savings account. Saw the checking, saw the Chase savings. So he decides that we should start looking for a house again because my lease was up in August. And I made it very clear that when the lease is up, I am moving. I wanted to move to Cobb County. So he was like, we need to get the ball rolling. I didn't want any parts of it. Didn't want any parts of it. He found a realtor. This time it was a woman. It was a woman. Um, and
She let herself like be swindled into this situation a lot because after we done went to counseling and therapy and over again, and you done told the pastors and everybody that you just not showing me the records, there's no reason for us to be looking for a house together. There's no reason. I can't trust you, and clearly you don't trust me. So there's no reason for us to be looking for a house together.
believe her name was Amber. I think her name was Amber. So he found a realtor and kind of he told her what the budget was. Amber started finding houses. So please understand, or you don't really have to understand, but I believed he was a sane, rational human being, sane enough that you would not sign an offer on a home if you didn't have the money. That's what I believed. So when we started working with Amber, Amber, I believe, showed us 3 or 4 houses. It was not nearly as many as the other realtor, Scott. So one of the houses, absolutely loved. Ugh, I love the house. I really wanted to put in an offer on that house, and I'm going to post it on the screen. The house, love that house. It was just absolutely beautiful. And once again, he wanted to put in an all cash offer on the house. But before he could put in an all, he had told Amber, I want to put in an all cash offer. And what Amber, the woman, was smart enough to say is, okay, let's just go ahead and take it one step at a time. Let's go ahead and get your pre-approval stuff together. She said, I work with a great lender who, if you're not already pre-approved, he can get you pre-approved, no issues. And then if you want to do an all cash offer, then we'll go ahead and get the proof of funds together so that way we can submit it all with your offer. Jesus. Y'all already know what happened because you remember what happened on the last house with Scott. Um, Basically, Legion was like, well, I can get you whatever you need. That's fine. But I really don't want to submit proof of funds unless they accept the offer. Amber, and I don't know where she is. I don't even know if she'll ever see this video. Um, anyway, let me keep going and I'll explain why that woman has a special place in my heart. So Amber was like, I totally understand. But this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to need that paperwork. Okay. And we'll submit it with your offer. She just simply was like, yeah, this is how we're going to do it. And so he did not submit the paperwork when she had asked him to. And I remember I was driving to work and I stopped at the Quick Trip on Upper Riverdale Road in Riverdale, Georgia. And Amber had called me. It was in the morning. She had called me. Um, and I believe with all my heart that Amber knew something was up, but she also knew I did not know what was up. So she called me and she was like, I just don't understand. Like, if he has the paperwork, like, you can submit the paperwork. But the issue was the Chase paperwork that I had was from a year prior. So my understanding was that it pretty much was no good at this point. Um, so she said all he has to do is just email it to me or take a picture of. She was like, I just need to know that he's able to back up his offer. And I said, I totally get it. And she was explaining some stuff to me. She was like, he needs to do X, Y, and Z. And so I said to her, I remember I said, I don't know what's going on. I said, I'm going to get down to the bottom of it, but I don't know what's going on. And so let's put a pause on this whole thing. Let's put a pause on looking at houses. Let's put a pause on getting his pre approval letter because I'm not sure what's going on. And she got quiet and she said, okay. I said, and I know this sounds weird. And she said, no. She said, that is actually very smart. She said, do your research. And if I can be of assistance, call me. She said, whether you buy a house with him or you buy a house on your own, I will be more than happy to represent you. I don't know where Amber is today, but that one sentence, I felt like just woman to woman, she was basically telling me something ain't right. Baby, something ain't right. And now you need to open your eyes. I'll be more than happy to work with you. Um, if y'all get your shit together, I'll work with both of you. But whether you buy a house or not, do your research and then let me know what I can do. That was our conversation at the quick trip on Upper Riverdale Road. So I got off the phone. Um, that was the last time that we worked with any sort of realtor. That was the last time that we looked at any sort of house. Um, and I don't remember exactly what happened after that meeting that day. I do know that when I went home, I simply told him, I don't want to look at a house right now. I said, I think it's okay if we rent. We'll just find a house in Cobb County and just rent for a year, and let's build, save some more money. Let's just let's not worry about buying a house right now. And basically, what I was trying to do was save face because that was the first time with Amber that I actually was embarrassed at the fact that we, he and I.
I think she really just didn't want to be alone. Like after at this point, she completely understands that she can't trust him. She cannot trust a word this man is saying at all. When it comes to the cars, the house is nothing. So she's just saving face and she just accepting it and giving him an easy way out of every lie so he's not really exposed and she doesn't have to deal with the big argument and her feelings being hurt even more, although she already know what the heck is going on. Child. Oh yeah, this is crazy.
Because I felt like I was complicit in the fact that I'm going to look at houses with him. I felt like we are wasting these people's time.
Yeah.
I did not mean to waste your time. I clearly see my time as being wasted, but that doesn't mean I need to waste your time. And I felt embarrassed at the fact that we wasted her time coming across as serious buyers. When time came to put up or shut up, nothing was put up, and I knew nothing. I had nothing to add to add to this because we're talking about a $650,000 house, and I'm oh, I don't make that. I don't make anywhere near that. So it just became one of those situations where I was trying to save face. I was trying to save face with my husband, and I was trying to save face with Amber. And so I did say to him, let's just rent for another year, and then let's see um, at that time where we are if we should go ahead and buy. So now is when shit is about to get real. Part 25, who the fuck did I marry? So we weren't looking at houses anymore.
All right, y'all, we fresh in this now. Remember, I told y'all I was pretty sure we finished part 24. Part 25, I have not seen anything from here forward. So I might be talking and interrupting, and my mouth might be dropping and everything else. Just bear with me, okay? This is my first time watching the rest of this.
We were not working with a realtor anymore. The end of April, I had decided that I wanted to look for another job. I did. The reason I wanted to look for another job is petty. Yeah, it is. I wanted to look for another job because I was pissed off at the fact that um, I had basically was dependent on him to help with the car note. So I wanted to look for another job where I could afford life all by myself, including that car note, basically where I would make more money. I told him that I was going to start looking for another job. He laughed. And his exact words were, "You're not going to leave Georgia State Patrol." He was like, "I swear you love them niggas more than you love me." He laughed. So that fueled me even more. So I was hitting the pavement hard trying to find another job. I was applying to all kinds of places. Got a phone call from my current job. So this is how I ended up in my current job. Got a phone call. They had sent me an email with a background packet. The background packet was long and extensive, but in the background packet, it asked for my spouse's full name, my spouse's date of birth, and my spouse's social security number. So I showed it to Legion and I was like, I need your social because, I'm applying for this job. It's a great job, it's way more money. Um, and, we're talking about moving anyway to Cobb County. So this, this is a God thing. He did not want to give me his social. I showed him the paperwork where I was like, look, because we are married, I can't lie on here. So help me. um, so he writes down his social security number on the background packet. And I eventually turned it in. I had scanned it, saved it in my email, and sent it in. And I looked at it one day, just going through it, just making sure I didn't really miss anything. All T's were crossed, all I's were dotted. And I looked at his social, and something about the social seemed different than the social security number that I remember seeing when we did our marriage license. And so, for those who you remember in the previous part, I said I had ran his social security number from the marriage license.
I was just about to say, how the heck did she need the social security number from him and she already got the social security number? She got a fake one anyway. Oh, this is crazy, y'all. Absolutely not, child.
Nothing came back. So I thought that I had written it down wrong. Basically, what it is that the first three numbers were different on the background packet than what was on the marriage license. If you don't know this, here's a little trivia. Your social security number, the first three numbers, pretty much are dictated by the state you were born in and the state that issued your birth certificate. So he was born in Pennsylvania. So the first three letters, excuse me, the first three numbers of his social security number should be attributed to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, shit, they probably got like five, six different numbers, 3-digit numbers that your social security number can start with. So the social that was on the marriage license, for example, was probably 123. What was on the background was 456. Both of those social security 3-digit prefixes are issued through the state of Pennsylvania. Again, this is an example so I can make it clear. So when I saw his social on my background, I immediately knew that was a different social than what I saw on the marriage license. Um, and when I compared, because I had found a copy of the marriage license that we turned in because I had filled it out on the computer. So, sure enough, the first three numbers were different. The rest of the numbers were the same. So, one of two things: either when I ran his background, I did in fact put in the wrong number, or the number on the marriage certificate or the background packet is wrong. So I decided that I was going to roll the dice and take the social from the background packet. Again, this is the background packet that I had to fill out to get my current job. I was trying to get a new job. Okay, so I took that social and I ran a background check on it. What came back on
Child, she only had God on her side, y'all. I'm telling you, this woman is highly favored by the man above because going through stuff like this will drive you crazy. It will drive you insane. It'll make you think you crazy. It'll make you think people crazy. It'll make you think people are working against you because you're just so paranoid at what's going on and you continuously trying to figure out the truth. It will drive you fucking crazy. The fact that she didn't just go crazy and break, well, I don't know, but shit, she's here to talk to us today. So the fact that she didn't go crazy and break, y'all, is amazing because you got to be strong to deal with some shit like this and just continuously be lied to and just continuously picking into and trying to figure it out. But fuck, that shit's exhausting. When you just supposed to be able to lay with your husband and go to sleep and wake up and trust each other, and you should trust that this nigga's social security number is what he said it is. Oh man, his birthday was probably different and everything else. Mm-mm.
on
Y'all,
this particular background
close
were
y'all
was all
coochies.
the
'Cause
addresses that the social security number, I guess, had been attached to. So all of the addresses, the states were Georgia, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania. What I did not see was California. So I thought that was weird. I thought, okay, maybe this is not a complete background because clearly he went to San Diego State. It's on his resume. It's on quite a few things. Social media. He didn't have a LinkedIn, but it was on his social media. So clearly he had he had been to California. So maybe I just need to do a different background check. Also to note during this time, I think I told you guys he had hit his leg at work. So what was happening was it was getting more and more difficult for him to walk, like put pressure on that leg, on that knee. Um, he was still able to go to work. He was still leaving at 6:15 in the morning. He was still coming back between 3:30 and 4 o'clock. But I clearly could see where he was in pain. He would elevate the knee, ice the knee. It was getting worse, and I was constantly
she said he hit his leg at work. Now, after going through different TikToks, because I've seen people like, you know how they make their reactions to it, and they like, one girl said, now I want to know what the hell actually happened to his leg. So I don't even think, child, I don't know what happened to the leg, y'all, but I'm glad she's getting to it. He hit the leg at work. I'ma just assume that's not really what happened. Ain't no telling what happened.
like go to the doctor. Let me take you to urgent care so that they can look at this knee. because you shouldn't still be limping and having a hard time putting weight on that knee. And every single time he was like, "Oh, it's fine. I have a doctor's appointment on Wednesday. The doctor just told me to ice it and to elevate it. This is an old football injury. It happens all the time. It used to happen a lot when I was out in California. So I'm mentioning this knee issue for a reason. But back to the background. So once again, when I ran the background the second time with the second social, it showed me states of Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. And that's all that I saw in terms of addresses. I didn't see anything for California. So by this point, we're moving into May of 2021. Things are starting to reopen. One of the things that reopened was San Diego State. So I called San Diego State. I called the registrar's office. Someone did answer, and there was instructions on how to request a transcript. I was able to try to request it online. You needed the student's name, and I believe you also need their social. And when I typed it in, it said no results found. I believe that I sent an email asking, this person is saying that they were a student there. Can you verify it? The response I got was there were no records found with that social security number. So I'm like, okay. I asked him about it. And in part 26, I'll tell you exactly what his response was. Part 26, who the fuck did I marry? So I asked Legion, what's the deal about San Diego State? He was like, what are you talking about? And I said, why is there no records of you there? Just came right out and said it. Without missing a beat, this man said, well, I was a private citizen. What the fuck does that mean? And what he said is that when he started at San Diego State, his father paid money so that, okay, it's important I say this with a straight face. His father paid money so that his name and social would not be publicized and he would be considered a private student, a private citizen. He said that he had a card where all he had to do was show the card. He does not have to give his name. He does not have to give any information because he had that card. He said so San Diego State would not have any record of him, but he was in fact a student there. I said, and you claim that you played football. He was like, I did play football. I said, so you're saying that the school did not publish your name anywhere and they were in violation of NCAA rules? And he was like, why are you asking all these questions? And I said, I'm just curious. I'm just curious. You're saying that you were a private citizen, but yet how were you in compliance with NCAA if you were a private citizen and they did not publish your name on any roster? So that was his excuse. He was like, all I can tell you is that I was a private citizen. My dad paid for it. Okay. So now I know that San Diego State has no record of him. Now I know that his social security number, at least the one that's on my background packet, only shows that only shows that he lived in Georgia, Rhode Island, and Pennsylvania. Okay. So at this point, the pain in his knee is getting worse. Uh, it's getting to the point where when he would come home from work, he would take a shower and immediately get in bed, elevate his knee. He was not even eating the way that he used to eat. It was getting to the point where at times, if you remember when I told you all about the miscarriage, they gave me pain meds because I had taken that pill, but the pain meds I was allergic to, so I couldn't take them, but I still had them. So the pain in his knee was getting to the point where he would take one of those pain meds just to get through the night. He was constantly in agony, constantly kind of tossing and turning, so much so that in May he moved into the guest bedroom because I couldn't deal with the tossing and turning thing. And he just said he was more comfortable there. So what at first was a, oh, I hit my knee at work, turned into, no, it was an old football injury, this has happened before, turned into, it's painful for me to walk on it, turned into, it's actually hard for me to work on it. But he was still going to work at 6:15 every morning and coming home between 3:30 and 4. So it is, again, I'm just giving you guys the chronological order of how all this happened. So at this point, we're not looking for a house. I still have not seen the two savings account. I'm pretty sure there's no money in those savings accounts. But again, he was going to put in an all cash offer with Amber, the realtor. So I really didn't know what to believe, but I believed what I saw, which is I saw that that background is not showing where he went to California. So at one point in May, it was close to mid May, he calls me from work. He calls me from work, calls me while I'm at work, and tells me that he got a phone call from his stepson. The phone call from his stepson, the stepson was crying and was just absolutely distraught. And I'm at work in my office, like, what's going on? And he says to me that the stepson informed him that his stepdaughter passed away, that she died from COVID. The stepson found, this is the story. The stepson found her in her apartment because they had not heard from her for a couple of days. And she was unresponsive. He called the ambulance. They pronounced her dead when she got to the hospital. So he was calling to tell me that she had died. Um, and he was also calling to ask me if I would object to him giving his ex wife $2,000 towards the funeral. As I've stated before, and I still am this way to this day. I don't play about death. So when he told me that she died, I immediately went into the, all right, I'm sorry to hear that. Um, Whatever we can do to help, let's help. Because surely nobody would make that up. So again, he was like, are you okay with that? He was like, we're married, and the agreement was that anything over $500 would be a discussion. So 2,000 definitely. And I said, yeah. I said that's totally fine. I'm fine with that. Um, he was upset because again, he was close with the kids. And my heart went out to his ex-wife. It did, because I can't even imagine. I cannot even imagine. So, part 27, who the fuck did I marry? So, here's where we are at and here's what we can establish. Number 1, I ran an initial background check on the social security number that was on our marriage license. Nothing came back. I subsequently applied for another job. In that job, I had to fill out a background packet. The background packet asked for my spouse's name, date of birth, and his social security number. The social security number on the background packet for the new job did not match the social security number that he gave me for our marriage license. If you are confused, I believe it's in part 25 or part 26 that I explain that. So we can establish that I then ran a background check on the new social security number that was on my background packet. It came back with address, or excuse me, states that the social security number apparently had lived in. Those states were Georgia, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island. Okay. I decided, this is now around May 20th, I decided to do another background check. Um, and I paid to do another background check. This time, I did it with a different company, and not only did it give me the addresses, excuse me, not only did it give me the states, it gave me addresses, and it also gave me names of people who were like associated with Legion and that address. One of those names was his ex-wife. I've always known he's always told me the name of the ex-wife, but now I see it when I ran his background. I did a search for her on social media. She was not there. So the address that
Now, all this researching she's having to do, this wouldn't have drove y'all crazy. Like, I cannot, because I understand like mischievous stuff turn people on, but this confusion wouldn't have turned me on. Like y'all already know, the coochie would have been, child, puckered up, pucker in. Ain't no coochie for you around here, boy. Like this too much confusion. I'm having to look for too much shit. I'm having to pay for too many background checks. Hell no. Ain't you still laying him? He's still laying in your bed, sis. That's the whole thing I'm confused about. He's still laying in your bed all this time. You just going to lay back down like ain't nothing wrong? Girl, nah. Mm-mm. This is truly,
it showed
it's
that
too
she was
much.
associated with him, because
Too
remember his
much.
story is we got married in San Diego, we lived in San Diego, we divorced in San Diego. Men lie, women lie. The US federal government with your social security number does not. So he's saying he was always in California. His social security number never showed that he was in California, according to the background check. It did show that he had lived in Georgia at an address associated with the ex wife. So, tried to find the ex wife, could not find her on social media. So, I looked in the metro counties to protect her identity. This I am going to not divulge a lot on this part. I looked in the metro counties, in the open record courts. So typically, you can look in like superior court or magistrate court or probate court. So I looked in open records for the different counties, metro Atlanta counties. Let me be clear, metro Atlanta counties. And I looked under her name, and I found where they had filed for divorce in a metro Atlanta county. So when he said that he filed for divorce in San Diego and that he was married in San Diego,
It was a lie.
I was able to find, no, according to the state of Georgia, you
Ooh,
were married
wait.
here. You were
Child.
divorced here. So I looked under her name, found a record for divorce, and it did.
So it's sounding like he was probably with her or something when he met Risa. Because remember, he came from a allegedly a studio, and he said that his job sent him down to Georgia, and he went ahead and did it for a new start. But it turns out that the wife was in Georgia the whole time. Is what I'm getting from this. I told you, ooh,
His name. So now I clearly see on my computer that there is a Metro Atlanta County Court that has a divorce record in the state of Georgia between him and his ex-wife. So I did what any rational person would do. Because this is still kind of COVID time. Well, not really, it had nothing to do with COVID. Let me take that back. Because of the parameters of the court, you can only do the open records request in person. I did what anybody would do. I told my boss I had to go. I grabbed my purse, grabbed my keys, and I drove to the court to do the open records request in person.
Child.
The open records request was for the divorce documents. Go back in the story in the series and remember I did a background on the ex-wife. I told you all exactly what was told to me. He met her in California. He married her in California. He divorced her in California because she cheated on him. He filed for divorce. She tried to get spousal support. It was going to be a little ugly. He was helping her with the kids. That was the story that was told to me. So, went to the court, filled out the paperwork, got the open records request for the divorce decree, for the divorce records. First thing I see, he didn't file, she did. Second thing I see, they didn't make it more than 6 months. I see the date of marriage. I see the date of dissolution.
So when he say that he left her because she was cheating on him and he filed for a divorce, that was a lie.
6 months.
Dang.
Third thing I see, he was served in Metro Atlanta, which means that at the time of the divorce, he was living in Metro Atlanta. California was never mentioned. Fourth thing I see, he filed what is called a pauper affidavit. If you don't know what that is, I'm going to do my best to explain it real quick. Basically, he filed an affidavit with the court saying that he is so poor, he could not afford the fees to pay for a divorce. He couldn't afford a filing fee. He couldn't afford a service fee. That is what a pauper affidavit.
So I was wondering, because remember, all of this happened in 2020. This was all around COVID time. So had he already applied for like the PPP and had he already started the unemployment fraud and everything? Because where was the money coming from? He had a little money, more than a little money. He was dropping down payments and deposits on stuff that he knew wasn't even coming. He paying deposits for furniture and washers and dryers and shit from stores, and he knew he wasn't getting the house. He was just wasting the money. But he didn't have the money for the divorce. Oh, this y'all,
Is for.
child.
All of this is in the divorce documents. She had filed. She said it was irreconcilable differences. She was not requesting any money whatsoever. And both of them had signed a pauper affidavit. He was served in Georgia at his previous employment. According to the divorce documents, he was served at like a grocery store. That is what was listed as his employer. And it had a
Child.
date of when he was served.
So has this man been going to work at a grocery store the whole time? He told her he was promoted to the VP, y'all, and he was parking his dang on BMW in a secure garage. Leave at 6:15 in the morning every day, come back around 3 or 4. Had he been going to work at the grocery store the whole time? I bet she never thought to think to look at Kroger's or Publix. Girl, he been right there the whole time, right up under your nose. Oh my gosh. Mm-mm-mm.
So I see all of this in one day. I also see where on the divorce documents, she listed her name, her address, and her phone number. So I did what any rational person would do. I wrote down the phone number.
I'm gonna call that motherfucking number.
There was a 50-50 chance that the
Hey,
number was already disconnected. She could be like me. I'm one of those people, honey, you can sneeze at a 27-degree angle. I will change my number so quick, you ain't even know what hit you. You can talk to me at 5 o'clock, and at 5:05, my number has been changed. So she could have been like me, and the number is not even active. Or she could be like some people I know who have kept their number since kindergarten. Either way, I wrote the number down. I left the court and I immediately went back to work. And the same friend who helped me when I had my miscarriage, I told her, I was like, I got this phone number. This is the ex wife. She was like, girl, you better call. You better call and find out from her because can't no.
Yes.
I think she said to me, can't nobody tell you what is going on quite like the ex-wife.
They show, boy.
So part 28 is the phone call that I had with the
All right, y'all.
ex-wife.
Ciao. We're going into part 28, y'all. Smack that likety like button if you're just coming in. If you're leaving and coming back, whatever you're doing, smack the like, smack the share. I'ma hit play.
Part 28 of Who the Fuck Did I Marry? So I had the phone number, went back to work. My really good friend was like, you better call her. You can use my phone, but call her. So I called her. She answered. Let me use aliases. And the conversation went like this: may I please speak with Barbara? This is Barbara. Barbara, this is Shirley. Shirley who? This is Shirley Jones.
Ciao.
I am the wife of Legion. Silence. Then she starts laughing. And she said to me, and I quote, if you were calling me, then I know it's bad. I chuckle and I said to her, I'm not trying to bother you. I'm not trying to disrupt your life. I I said I am literally coming to you on some woman to woman shit. I said because you are probably the only person who can help. she listened. She was gracious. And she said, what is it that you need to know? Or what is it that you want to know? And I said, I understand that you and my husband talk and communicate. Um, and she immediately said, what? No, we don't. And I said, okay. Um, she said, one thing you need to know about Legion. She said, whatever he tells you, it is a lie. And she said, when he, again, let's go back to part one. I told you guys that when he introduced himself or when we met, we actually had matched on two different sites. And he was under two different names. One was like the actual birth name. The other one was a nickname variation of that name. That's the name I know him by. So for example, if his name was Matthew, he had a profile under Matthew and then he had a profile under Matt. I would have known him as Matt. So she said to me, she was like, I don't even know who Matt is. She was like, that's not even his name. And so I knew what his actual government name, and she was like, no one calls him Matt. She was like, that must be his new personality. Or she was cracking a joke, but she was like, anything he tells you, you need to know is a lie. So I just asked her, I said, what was your experience? I said, because I can tell you the story he told me. And she stopped me right there. She said, whatever he told you was a lie. She said, let me guess. He told you I cheated on him. Let me guess. He told you that I wanted money from him. And I said, yeah. And she said, yeah, that's a complete lie. So we had a conversation where she told me how they met. They didn't meet online or anything. I said, well, were you guys ever in California? She said, no. She's like, she was like, that man ain't never been from past the East Coast. So I said, okay. So you guys have always been in Georgia. And she said, yeah. She's like, we got married in Georgia and we got divorced in Georgia. And that's when she asked me.
Understand, y'all, she's legally married to this man. Like, she went down there to try to get married to him. I believe she said in like August or something. And something went wrong because he was lying about his social security number and everything. She didn't say what went wrong, but she said something went wrong. And then she went back, I think in September. And did they get married then? Or something went wrong again? And they might have got married the third time, but they might have got married then. But she's legally married to this man. And now she's talking to the ex-wife, whom was legally married to him also. And Risa don't know nothing about this man that she's legally married to. If y'all didn't watch part 1 through 24, you might want to go find it on my channel and watch it. Risa let Legion move into her house less than 30 days after meeting him. She met him on a chat line, social media or something. They talked for 2 weeks. Then they had their first date, March the 7th. The government, Georgia went on lockdown 2 weeks after that. They quarantined together at her house. He never left. Never left. She met him 2 weeks before March the 7th. They quarantined, what, 4 weeks after that, basically? Because she talked to him on the phone for 2 weeks. Then she met him March the 7th. Then they went on quarantine 2 weeks later. So a month, and he moved into her home. She know nothing about this man at all whatsoever.
Me, how did you even get my number? She said, because I want nothing to do with him. So how did you get my number? And I said, I'm gonna tell you the truth. It ain't gonna make me look good. I told her, I said, this is what happened, and this is what led to me doing research, and this is how I got your number. And she laughed. She was like, wow. She was like, normally I would be freaked out. She said, but under the circumstances, she was like, wow, okay. Um, she said, yeah, if you're calling me, then it must have gotten pretty bad. She said, so what did he promise you? And we talked for about 35 minutes. She asked me in that phone call, she said, look, I want nothing to do with him. I have not spoken to him since our divorce was finalized. She said, so I would just appreciate if you keep me out of whatever's going on with y'all. And I told her, I said, I give you my word, I will never tell him I spoke to you. I said, I give you my word. I said, this conversation is for me. It is not for me to use in any sort of legal litigation, nothing. This is for me. And I said, I don't plan to call you again. I don't plan to be a disruption in your life. I just needed to know, how bad is it? And she paused and she said, it's bad. She said, I don't know what all y'all got going on. She said, but if it's anything like what it was for me, it's bad. So we talked a little bit more. She was very encouraging. She was like, girl, do not blame yourself. She said, I went through that and I had blamed myself. She was like, this is not on us. This is on him. Um, she was like, he is a master liar, a master manipulator. She said, I ignored the red flags. So she was like, do not feel as though this is on you. We talked about there's an ex-girlfriend that shares the same name as his aunt. She and I talked about her. She said the reason why they broke up because
The ex-girlfriend has made her video on either Facebook or TikTok. The ex-girlfriend popped up, y'all, and she didn't laughed and she said the same thing, like she went through the same dang on thing with him. And the stepson has made videos, and the ex-wife have made videos on TikTok and Facebook. Like, child, 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 child.
ex-girlfriend, I didn't know this. The ex-girlfriend had reached out to her about 6 months before he met me. And so the ex-girlfriend lives in lived in Douglasville. On Legion's driver's license, he had a Georgia driver's license with the Douglasville address. What he told me was that it was the address that his sister, because remember I told y'all his sister Shantae lives in Douglasville. She's a nurse, married with 2 kids. So he told me that the address on his license, it was his driver's license, was to Shantae's house. The ex-wife is telling me, no, that's the address for the girlfriend, the ex-girlfriend. He had moved in with her and he created this whole narrative with her. She found out um, that he was lying and she kicked him out. And so I guess after she kicked him out, she then reached out to the ex-wife, kind of the way I did for confirmation. And so the ex-wife was just telling me, whatever that man has told you, it is a lie. She said, I got out before it got too bad. She said, because once I knew he was lying, I was out. She was like, because he's never going to change. um, and so, again, conversation went on and on. And so finally, we were getting ready to get off the phone. And before we got off the phone, I said to her, I said, if everything is a lie, I said, I have one question for you. And she said, sure. I said, how is your daughter? I said, how is your daughter? Next part coming up. Part 29, who the fuck did I marry? So I asked her, how was your daughter? She said, my daughter's fine. And I said, okay. She said, what did he say about my daughter? And I will be honest with y'all, I didn't have the heart to tell her. So what I said instead was, oh, no, it was, with everything with COVID, I think he mentioned that um, she might have had COVID or was exposed to it. I downplayed it bad. I wasn't going to tell that woman that he said her daughter passed away. Um, so I said, obviously I'm glad to hear that kids are fine. She said, look, whether you stay with him or not is your choice. She said, he ain't gonna change. He ain't gonna change at all. She said, this is what he does. She said, you're not the first. You're not going to be the last. She said, he did it to me. She was very, very encouraging because she was just like, you do not blame yourself. She said, we both ignored red flags, but it is not your fault. She said, this is on him. And so once again, I thanked her for her time, got off.
Child, Risa ignored the whole red sky. Like the whole red sky, the whole entire goddamn sky was just beat red. And she just ignored it. She just drive to work like nothing was wrong. It's raining. The damn rain is red and shit. She just ignoring it all. Just la di da da da. Like it's just rainbows in the sky, although it's red. Just ignoring it all. But then she wasn't ignoring it because she was researching everything. She paying for multiple background checks, but then ignoring the.
Off the phone.
I don't even know.
I took the long way home that
I
night.
don't even know. I wouldn't have went
I
home.
could not be around
Okay.
him. I could not be around him.
Oh
I had
no.
to figure something out. I had to figure some things out. So I I took the long way home. What does that mean? It means that I probably could have taken 75 to 285, but I probably to 20 to 75 to 285 to 675 kind of like I just took the long way home. Um a couple of days later, because I really my mind was spinning. A couple of days later, at this point, I'm turning into the FBI, CIA, and Homeland Security all in one. Literally. I'm I'm trying to find everything. Um, and he's carrying on his business as usual. Nothing changed with him. He had no idea that I had spoken to the ex-wife. He had no idea I had gone to the court and saw his divorce documents. He had no idea. So a couple of days later, I decided to look up his mother's obituary. Look up the mother's obituary. And down at the bottom, where it talks about, oh, she's preceded in death by, and it lists all the people, the family members that died before. And then it says, leaving behind to cherish her memory. It lists the husband, his dad, her husband, excuse me. Let me start over. It lists her husband, which is Legion's dad. It lists Legion's brother that lives in Philly and his wife, because again, this is 2000. She passed away in 2015. So it lists Legion, the brother in Philly, and his wife and daughter, her granddaughter. It lists Legion and his wife. I think it was like Latoya or La something, La something. Um, it did not list the ex-wife I just spoke to, and it clearly said Legion, his wife, Latoya. Then it listed the brother in Nashville, his wife, Jane, or whatever. So I'm thinking to myself, there's two things I was thinking immediately. Number one, um, who is Latoya? Never heard that name before. Never heard that name before. So I was thinking, who is Latoya? And then number two, where are the two sisters? Shantae and Kim. Shantae lives in Douglasville, married with two kids. Kim lives in Augusta, and I believe he told me she worked at like Procter and Gamble. So why aren't they listed on here? Because apparently, go back to the video. I posted it on there. I gave y'all background on the family. He apparently was one of five through both parents, brother in Philly, older brother, younger brother in Nashville, an older sister in Douglasville, and a baby sister in Augusta. So why is it on his mother's obituary? There's only three children named. Where are the two sisters? So I'm even more like, what in the hell's going on? And then I started thinking to myself, why wouldn't they list Shantae? Like, they talk all the time, so I know that they're close because he talks to Shantae all the time. So I really was confused. Again, keep in mind, I'm trying to give y'all insight into how I was thinking May of 2021, because I still didn't find out a lot of stuff at that time. I found out enough to figure out, okay, it's not a question of if he's lying. That was over. It's not a question of if he's lying. The question now is becoming, what else is he lying about? So we had the phone call with the ex-wife. Now I see an obituary that apparently there's another wife. I know on our marriage certificate, it only states he had one previous marriage. I had zero, he had one. So this is how I'm thinking in my head, which is, okay, what am I missing here? I know we've established that he's lying, but who the fuck is Latoya? Like, I'm really trying to understand who is Latoya. Um, and again, he's hobbling around the house, limping, and I'm in our bed, well, in the bedroom, just I mean, I could not get on Google fast enough to try to figure some stuff out. So, um, see the mom's obituary, study it, and at this point, I'm now trying to figure out, okay, what's the game plan? What is the game plan? And that's where we are about to get into the next part. Okay, part 30 of Who the Fuck Did I Marry? So I'm going to use this as a clarification video. So we're going to use part 30 as a stop. Let's clarify some things. I've done that before on a previous set of videos. So I think it's just important to do that. So that way I can try to address some of the things that I have seen in the comments, both supportive and just downright mean. But let me clarify some stuff. Number one, it is important to remember that I am telling this entire story of how I met, dated, married, and divorced my pathologically lying ex husband. I am going in chronological order of events. So, what that means is that, ma'am, sir, whoever you are, if you were coming in at part 30, but you have not seen part 11, some stuff is not going to make sense. I know. It is a long playlist. And don't worry about watching the video as soon as it comes out because everything I'm trying to do this responsibly of telling the story in the order of which things happen. So I say that to say, please, if you're able to, start at the introduction disclaimer video. Start with part one and then just watch each video. Because a lot of the questions people are having that I'm seeing in the comments, and I say this respectfully, is just because you did not go to the other videos and watch them in order. That's just the first thing I want to say. Um, it is important that I get this story out, but that it's done, like I said, responsibly. To me, responsibly is being honest, even if it makes me look bad, but then also trying to be clear and not ramble all over the place. So I'm trying to take the time to tell you this is what happened at this time. This is what happened at that time. That's why there's so many parts. And we're not even to the part of the divorce yet. We're almost there, but we're not there yet. Second thing I want to clarify, I cannot stress this enough. My family and my friends did not know what was going on between Legion and I. They did not know. My family only knew we've met this guy. He's dating our daughter, our niece, our cousin, our granddaughter. He seems to be a really nice guy. He seems to really love her. Um, from what he has told us, he's done well for himself. He played football, um, and he has worked at this company 6, 7 years. And financially, he is in a good place. From what we understand, he just moved here from California. That is what they knew. They did not know about the red flags I had. They did not know what was going on in my head. They did not know what was going on in my heart because I did not want to look stupid. I'm fully aware that when I tell this story, I look stupid. I'm aware. And I've made my peace with that. But at the time, I did not want to look stupid. So it was important to me to put on everything's great. We're really happy. We're looking for a house and everything's going well, knowing full well that behind the scenes, I couldn't figure out why he wasn't showing proof of funds. They did not know. So I say that to say, I see the comments about how my aunt gave me horrible advice when I called her about the sexting on Facebook. And I want to clarify something. She did not tell me to stay with him. She did not tell me to leave him. That's not her place, and that's not what she would do. She simply was in shock that any of this had happened and did not know what to give me advice on. The one thing that she did say was, look, he's not your boyfriend, meaning it ain't as simple as, oh, we just gonna break up, pack your shit and go, because you married him. Ma is the most ride or die chick I've ever met. You fuck with me, you fuck with her. And she is straight Jersey. So I love her for it, but I needed to, it's not fair for me to leave it out there as if, oh, she just was like, girl, I mean, go home and deal with it. No, never in a million years. So I want to clarify that. I also want to clarify about my mom. So my mom lives in Arkansas. And when she came to visit in April, this is, we were already married. This is her first time physically meeting Legion. My mom will tell you she had no idea anything was amiss, but there was something that nagged her a little bit. She didn't know what it was. And my mom is the type where she's going to get on her knees in prayer. That's who she is. So for her, it was like, I don't know what it is. He seems like a nice guy. He seems to love my daughter. Um, because again, there was no arguing in the house. The house was peaceful while she was here, even though behind the scenes we had just came off of the whole sexting incident with other women. So for her, it was like, I don't know what it is. She did tell me later on that it seemed as if I wasn't as happy as she thought I would have been. But again, she took it to the Lord in prayer. And her prayer was, God, protect my child. I don't know what's going on, but protect her. That was my mom's response. So she did not know, she did not pick up or overhear something that was going on while she was here. She had a candid conversation with Legion, and Legion kind of came across as, it's, I miss my mom. He missed his own mother, and so he called my mom and doted on her, again putting on a charade. And so for her it was like, bless his heart. That's what she said, bless his heart. um but no, she did not know the specifics. Nobody knew the specifics. They didn't know the specifics until we're talking May, June of 2021. They knew that we were looking for a house. They knew that the house fell through. They did not know about the proof of funds. They did not know that he wouldn't show me the savings account, the offshore account. So I just want to say that because to me, it would be irresponsible to not clarify what family and friends knew. Because these people have always been supportive of me, always had my back. I just simply did not share with them the things that I felt like were red flags, because again, my mindset at the time was, I want to be married, and what if he isn't lying? And I was making excuses for him to myself, so I definitely would have made excuses to family. Another thing I need to clarify, and I saw the comments on this about how a VP would never date someone that looked like me. And to the person that wrote it, that wasn't very nice. Um, I need you all to understand, the relationship started in March of 2020. He came into my life as regional manager. Okay. That is how he came into my life. Then eventually he got promoted to VP of production or operations, some VP of something. That was later on in the relationship. He showed me the paperwork where it was basically a memo from HR. You've now, your new position title will be VP of production. We'll just say production. Your salary, I don't remember the exact amount because it was a very specific amount, but it was over $200,000. It listed some of the benefits that he would have. He would have an office. He would be getting an executive assistant. That's where we get David from. If you don't know who David is, please go back and watch the series in order. He would be getting an executive assistant. He would be getting use of the company helicopter. He would be getting a company car. That is where we're introduced to the fact that he was starting to shop for a company car that could not be more than $90,000. That's what he told me. I didn't see this in the memo, the amount of the car, but that's what he told me. So that's where you get the car shopping for the Range Rover, the Jaguar, the uh the BMW. He even test drove a Mercedes GLE, I believe. So I'm just trying to again bring some clarity to this so that way we all can understand what's going on, and hopefully this just makes a lot more sense for everyone. All right, part 31. Part 31, who the fuck did I marry? So I found his mother's obituary online. It then told me it listed the it listed his brother in Philly and his wife. It listed Legion, and then it said his wife. I took the name from the obituary and I did a Metro Atlanta court search with that name. I found a divorce record. I found a divorce record with Legion and the same woman's name that was in the obituary. In that divorce record, it looks like he's the one that filed for divorce. This would have been around 2016. This was after the mother's death. He filed for divorce. She was the respondent. I think that's the correct terminology. Both had a temporary protection order against each other. He had one against her, she had one against him. The divorce ended up getting granted, finalized. Then it looks like he went on his way. In the course of the search for her name, I discovered that at one point in time, the two of them had lived in Rhode Island. So that's the connection with Rhode Island because for the longest time I could not figure out was who lived in Rhode Island. Um, that's where that came from. The two of them, he and this woman, lived in Rhode Island several years prior or a few years prior. I could not find the obituary for his dad. I searched and I searched. I could not find the obituary for his father. For whatever reason, and I knew his grandmother's name. I just randomly decided to do a Google search of the grandmother's name. Initially, nothing came up because I was looking for the grandmother's name in Philly. Nothing came up. I looked for the grandmother's name down here in Georgia. Found a record, but um, it wasn't quite clear. What was clear was that she had died several years prior. So what I found was a different website where it was like a legacy.com type thing. So I believe legacy.com holds old obituaries. Did a search for her name, found a match. That is when I discovered that she actually had passed away in July of 2008. Read the read the caption of the obituary and verified that in fact it was his grandmother. She because at the bottom of it, again, obituaries tell you a lot. It names um, who she leaves to cherish her memory. So it lists all the different family members. It lists the brother in Philly. It lists Legion, no spouse, and then a brother in Nashville. Once again, it did not list the two sisters, Shantae and Kim. So I'm even more like, okay, clearly um something, is up when it comes to Shantae and Kim. But what I do know is that he has um talked to them multiple times in front of me. So I'm not sure what I'm missing. Maybe some family feud happened. I don't know. So that is how I discovered that when he told me the grandmother died from COVID and he was crying, boo-hooing, and all that shit, she actually had died in July of 2008. I found this out the same time that I found out about allegedly, and I say allegedly because I'll explain, allegedly the first wife, or at least what I think is the first wife. So while all this is going on, Legion is almost bedridden from what happened with his knee. And I need to take a moment to address this issue with the knee. Again, the story started, he hit his knee. Then it turned into, um, it was an old football injury. And this has happened before. He's going to the doctor. The doctor's telling him to ice it and to elevate it. He eventually moves into the guest bedroom to be more comfortable. I'm going to make this statement. This is probably the only time I will make this statement. He was not lying about the injury that he had. I don't know where the injury came from, but what I do know was he was not lying in the fact that he was in pain. You could clearly see that he was in pain, and the pain was becoming debilitating. Please understand what I'm saying. The pain was debilitating enough to where he was taking my pain meds from when I had the miscarriage. And then also, it was hard for him to walk. He was not eating. So, this is what made me believe this, whatever was going on with the knee, there was more to it because he was not eating. When I met this man, he was a size 3X. At this point in time in May, he's down to a 2X. He is not exercising. He is not doing anything mobile. He's simply not eating. So there definitely was something going on, something concerning. Honestly, I thought it might have been cancer. But he kept saying, no, it's not that. It's from a football injury. It's from a football injury. I said to him, the next time you have a doctor's appointment, I want to go. It was that bad. Um, And he kept making excuses like, okay, fine, I'll make the appointment. I'll let you know what it is. Cool, I will take off work. I want to be at that doctor's appointment because whatever is going on with you is serious to the point where you are losing weight rapidly within a 2 week span. So now we can go ahead and enter into June. When we enter into June, I have verified, read the divorce documents for not one wife, but two wives. I have called San Diego State, verified they have no record of him. He claims he was a private citizen. I don't believe that. They're saying there's no record of him. I have pulled his background. It is showing that you've lived in Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Georgia. When I look at the addresses, it is tied to at least two women, both of whom I'm showing divorce records on file that you had. Um, I've also verified that your grandmother actually died in 2008 and not in 2020 from COVID. I know all of this as I'm going into June. His birthday is June 17th. So all I've been doing is just trying to figure out what is it, what is it I'm going to do. I spoke to the pastor and his wife. I believe it was actually the pastor I spoke to because I knew the pastor um, previously before he did our marriage counseling. And I told him what I found. Mind blown. Mind blown. Had no idea. He knew something was up. He knew that Legion was not really trying to make this marriage work. He had no idea all this was going on. So he asked me, are you wanting to stay or do you want to end the marriage? I said, oh, absolutely, I'm ending it. Oh, hell yeah, I'm ending it. I, I have to. I have to end it. Um, I have no idea who that man is in my guest bedroom. Not to mention, on top of all of this, he had lied about the death of the ex wife's daughter. Part 32. Part 32. Who the fuck did I marry? All right. So we're now in June. By this point in June, I have been offered the new job, accepted it, put in my 2 week notice at my previous job. and was going to be starting the new job later on in the month. So when he laughed, where I told him I wanted to get a new job, that laughter fueled me to get a new job. So here's what happened the beginning of June. He's at this point, he's completely bedridden. When I say completely bedridden, what I mean is, um, and try to clarify this so it makes sense. From what I see, he is going to work, but he's calling out a lot more. Okay. So he had already left the condiment company and was working for Apple. So he's calling out quite a bit because the pain is pretty bad. So he's hardly eating at this point, hardly. For example, if I were to say, oh, I ordered a 10-piece wings, he's eating two, and that's it. That's all I would see him eat. I was going to work and coming home. The house was in the exact same um, place that it was when I left. Nothing in the kitchen had been moved. Nothing in the refrigerator had been moved, which led me to believe that he had not left the bed from the time I left to go to work until the time I came home. At this point in time, he's drinking Powerades like it's water. I mean, I'm buying cases of Powerades. And that seemed to be the only thing that he was taking in. So
So, like, what the heck was wrong with him? What in the world? He lied about the injury, where it came from, and now he's not eating anything, and he just in bed. Well, God, mm-mm-mm. Moving people in your house don't know who they are at all whatsoever.
if he was a 3X when I met him, he's probably at a 1X, maybe a 2X, depending on the clothes. He's lost a lot of weight because he's not eating. So that's the reason why I say he wasn't faking whatever was going on. I think the issue with his knee was a symptom. That was not some football injury. That was not, oh, I hit it at work. It wasn't that. Something else was going on. I had kept asking him to, let me know when you have a doctor's appointment. I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with you. And he just kept saying the doctor till he's calling the doctor, and the doctor told him to just keep icing the knee. But I knew better. What was happening was I didn't care because of all the stuff I was finding out. So beginning of June, he is in a bed, sleep, and I get his phone. I ain't gonna lie. I got his phone. He had a work phone and he had a personal phone. It was the work phone that he had from the condiment company that apparently was never turned in. Follow me, it'll all come out. So he still had the work phone. It was deactivated, but he did not wipe the phone, if y'all know what I mean. Take all the data off. He did not do that. So I looked through the phone and I see this would have been text messages. Text messages between him and a woman named Peaches. I go back to the beginning of the text messages. This is on the work phone. This is the beginning of June of 2021. I go back to the text messages the beginning of the text messages between him and Peaches. Yes, that was her name, Peaches. I'm reading the thread because he's knocked out sleep. So I'm in the bathroom with the door locked, reading the thread. And what I can tell is that he met Peaches on POF. If you don't know what POF is, it is Plenty of Fish, a dating website. He met Peaches. I saw the messages in June, so he met Peaches around February. Um, Met Peaches from POF. And apparently Peaches um, was, There's no nice way to say it. Apparently Peaches was a prostitute. So and the reason why I say that is because in the text messages, she's listing the prices. So he asked for a hand job. This is in the text messages. She told him it would be like $40. He asked how much would it be for oral. She said it would be 60. Um, because it was 60 and 80. One was the price with a condom, one was the price without one. So no
Oh,
messages after that. She sent a picture, he sent a picture. No messages after that. So in other words, these messages.
hell no. Like, you see, man, child. And that's why she says she made these videos for anybody out there that think that they questioning, that they think something's not right. If they just think that they think, then maybe you can watch these videos and maybe you could figure out what's going on possibly in your life. Um, oh, y'all heard? Prostitute, $40 hand job. So she's a broke, cheap prostitute whore at that. Price with the condom, price without a condom. So she's a disgusting, disrespectful, broke, cheap prostitute whore that don't even respect herself. Oh hell no. Mm-mm. Oh fuck the price that the ooh y'all, my speech is not even coming out right. The fact that the bitch had the nerve to even have a price without a condom, you hoes just don't care if y'all dead or alive, huh? The fuck? Oh hell no. Mm-mm. A good child, a hoe could be a hoe. Prostitute be bitch, you got a price without a condom. Bitch, you really oh bitch. Bitch, you not my type of hoe. Fuck, you one of those nasty drugged out. No, bitch, no. What? Without a condom, bitch, that is foreign language. Mm-mm.
Were not back to back every single day.
Mm-mm.
There's breaks in between the
Oh
messages. So,
hell
like
no.
a message was in March, the next message is in April. Message in April, next message is like 2 weeks later. So, um, he's asking her the prices. Next message I see would have been from a few weeks prior to the date of this. So, this was the beginning of June. The message is from sometime beginning of May, where he is thanking her and says to her, thank you so much. That was really great. I hope I can see you again. Then there's messages where she said, hey, basically she was at a new spot. She must have moved. So he said, okay, I'm gonna come through. I'm gonna come see you. He's asking her to confirm the address. He was like, is it the house with the brown trash can with a white car in the front? She says, yes. So I'm thinking he was actually in front of the house when he's texting these messages. Then again, he does whatever he does, and he sends her a message a few hours later saying, thank you. That was great. I'm reading all this. Um, and I will tell you guys something that you may or may not understand. Some women may or may not understand.
Y'all better understand, like this advice can go to men too. Because I understand that was somebody's bitch. Understand that is somebody's hoe giving another man without a condom prices. Understand it. He pulled up on somebody else bitch and she gave this man head. Probably while her man was at work. Y'all best to understand this shit. It ain't just that the niggas is messed up out here. The bitches are too. Oh, oh gosh, girl. Oh, Risa. Oh my gosh. Mm, talk about going psycho. Child, she done paid for background checks. Now she's seeing that the man is texting prostitutes that are willing to do it without bitch. You a prostitute in a whole different fucking category. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
It.
Fuck
The
no.
cheating
Lord.
didn't even phase me.
Y'all?
Didn't even phase me. I didn't cry. I didn't I did not feel like, what did I do wrong? I was relieved. The reason why I was relieved is because up until this point, I kind of struggled a little bit on whether or not, God, I know, Lord, you hate divorce, but I can't stay with a guy that lies. So when I saw the cheating stuff, I was like, oh shoot, thank you, Jesus. Okay. Because I know my Father in heaven's gonna forgive the fact that I'm gonna divorce him for infidelity. Go ahead. It's fine. Jesus will forgive me. So I was relieved, to be honest with you. Like, oh, okay. I got grounds now, bitch. That's how I felt. So saw the messages, forwarded the messages to my phone. Um, or excuse me, I had to take my phone because the phone was deactivated. So I kind of had to do a little ghetto, hold the phone up, take my phone, and take pictures of what I see on the phone,
Bitch,
so that I would have proof on my phone.
bitch, ain't nothing about that ghetto. Bitch, ain't nothing about that ghetto, bitch. You did what you had to do, and you did the smart thing, bitch. You don't forward nothing, bitch. You take the other phone and take pictures of that shit. And then you send it to yourself, bitch. And send it to somebody else too. The fuck, bitch. You did what you were supposed to do. Hell no. Because all you needed was for you to go to sleep and for that nigga to go through your phone and delete the shit that you just took pictures of. Bitch, no. Send it to somebody else that you can trust too. Mm-mm. Oh, Lord Jesus, help us. You can't trust the men or the women out here. Help us, Jesus Christ. What we gonna do? We need help. We need help.
phone. Then I put the
Oh,
phone
the
in the
world,
bag
y'all.
and continued on. Now, in the next part, is the day that he gets kicked out. And I will tell y'all what happened. Part 33. Who the fuck did I marry? June 17th, 2021. So, you guys have been on this ride. You now know exactly what information I did have. The morning of June 17th, which was his birthday, he was in the bed as usual, Powerade bottles all over the place because I wasn't in the mood to clean. Um, and so I went in his room. He was awake. He was watching YouTube on his cell phone. He watched a lot of YouTube, watching these two guys that always were
Child, this is crazy. So like they didn't split into different bedrooms and he just still in her house like shit sweet. Hmm. If that right there didn't fucking tell you exactly who he is, the fuck kind of nigga just still lay around and she don't want you. Lord, please.
fixing Jeeps on YouTube. Um, and if I saw them, I would know exactly who they are, but I can't remember their name. It's a popular show on YouTube. Anyway, so I go in there and I just calmly sit on the edge of the bed and I was like, can we talk? And he was like, yeah, what's up? I said to him, I said, Legion. Obviously, I called him his name. Legion.
You got to get your shit and get the fuck out. Get the fuck out, nigga. Can we talk? Yeah, baby, sure we can talk. Okay. Get your shit and get the fuck out. Okay? Okay, okay, okay. Nothing else need to be said. Get your little fucking duffel bag and get the fuck out. You can even take the Powerade that I bought for your bum ass, but you gotta get the fuck out. Conversation over. This nigga's a fraud. I'm gonna call the goddamn law. Come and get this fraudulent motherfucker up out of here.
I said, I'm going to ask you something. I just want you to be honest with me.
I ain't
So he
asking
starts,
nothing.
I can already see in his eyes, he's about to get defensive. And I was like, calm. Because this is the tone I had. Calm. I said, you never went to San Diego State, did you? He rolls his eyes and he's like, I said, calm down. Watch your tone. I said, you never went to San Diego State. I said, you never lived in California, did you? And he said, of course I lived in California. He was like, I fucking showed you the house I had in California.
That watch your tone should have let him know it was over right then and there. Calm down. Watch your tone. She said, watch your tone like she got something in her pocket. Watch your tone, motherfucker, because it's still my shit. Girl, Risa, why you asking him these questions you know the answer to? We don't have time, okay? Tell him to get the fuck out. Get the fuck out, nigga. Get the fuck out and take these bottles with you.
He said, I told you about San Diego State. I was a private citizen. My dad paid for me to be a private citizen. And I said, okay. I said, I called San Diego State. And he looked at me. His eyes were like empty. Like he wasn't shocked. He wasn't like, oh my God. He was just more like, okay. I said, they have no record of you. I said, they have no record because you never went. You never been to California. So at this point, I'm very calm. And I'm just stating, I said, you never been to California. I said, I bet you've only lived in Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. At this point, now there's a little emotion behind the eyes. And I said, I don't think that this is going to work. And he said, what, the marriage? He was like, so what you saying? You don't want to be married to me anymore? And I said, I don't want to be married to you anymore. I said, we need to go our separate ways. We tried, but we need to go our separate ways. The way that I am talking to you all is exactly how I was talking to him. And so he was like, that's not what marriage is. Marriage is, you have to fight for what you want. I said, I don't want this. And I don't want to fight for it. I said, I don't want you and I don't want this.
I would have said, bitch, I don't even fucking know you. Fuck is you talking about what marriage is? Get your raggedy ass the fuck out of my guest bedroom, bitch. And you can't go to the third bedroom, bitch. Get the fuck out. Fuck is you talking about what marriage is, bitch? Bitch, I don't know you. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. Still very calmly, but bitch, get the fuck out. Bye, bitch. He would have been every last bitch in the mother, but he would have been every bitch. Bitch titty, bitch titty. Get the fuck out, bitch. Get the fuck out. Hell no. Man, this ain't what a marriage is. Bitch, I don't know you. Fuck. Mm-mm.
And so he was like, I'm
Mm-mm.
not giving up on the two of us. I said, you don't have a
Boy,
choice.
please.
I said, I think that you should call your brother or your sister now. And I think that you need to pack a bag. And I think you need to get the fuck out my house. And he
Yo,
was like, I don't really have time for this.
all of that order. Get the fuck out of my house. Girl, you tell him again. I like how she said that. I like it.
now. And I think that you need to pack a bag.
Hmm.
And I think you need to get the fuck out my house.
Yes.
And he was like, I don't really have time for this. I don't feel well. I said, I don't care. You need to get out of my house. Again, the way I know y'all are going to be like, she's so dramatic. And in real, I am actually a very dramatic person. But the way that I'm talking to you guys on this video is exactly how I was talking to him in the beginning of how this started. So I said, you need to call your brother, um, or call your sister because she's in Douglasville, and you need to go stay there. You need to get out this house today. Basically, what happened was, at first, he refused. He wasn't moving fast enough for me. Um, and so he called his aunt, and his aunt was on speakerphone. Let me preface that. She was on speakerphone. And so she was like, what's going on? And he was like, my wife don't want me no more. She claimed that I'd be lying to her. I ain't never lied to her. When I heard this, what's the analogy I can give y'all? When I heard him say to his aunt, I ain't never lied to her before, something in me snapped. The best analogy I can give you, do y'all remember that movie Carrie when she was at the prom and everyone was laughing at her? The blood had fallen down on her, and there was a moment where her eyes just went wild, and you knew something was about to happen. You just didn't know what, but y'all had pushed her too far. When he said to his aunt, I ain't never lied to her, I snapped. The calmness left, the amount of rage that was in me. I could have fought every member of the Kansas City Chiefs and beat every last one of their asses. I could have fought every member on the Atlanta Falcons and beat every last one of their
What?
asses. I'm not a violent person, but I
Where did
was
Chiefs
I was
come in
I
this
was
at
there.
though?
That statement, I ain't never lied to her, took me
Child.
there. I went off. I went off. I went off so bad that first of all, every part of me was shaking. I called my mom. My mom was on speakerphone, and she's in Arkansas. My mom's a praying woman. I was cussing like a sailor. My mom finally said, put him on the phone. So I gave him the phone, and I'm standing there and I'm looking around the room. Is the scene that I remember is the Angela Bassett scene in Waiting to Exhale, when her eyes are darting around the room right before she grabs everything to put it in the car to set it on fire. I was more so looking at what weapons were in the room: the lamp, the TV, the dresser. I was looking more, I mean, I was while she was talking to him, my eyes were darting around the room, because if he did not get his ass up and get his shit and get up out of my house, it was going to be bad. If I have never in my life been on TikTok and said thank you, if had it not been for the blood, y'all, I know this is going to sound dramatic. I know this is going to sound like, girl, you so funny. You don't understand. Had it not been for the Lord on my side.
Oh, trust me, we understand, sis. We understand. Um, Girl, my OG would have already grabbed the lamp. Like, oh my goodness, back in the day, they were a little, like, they think we crazy, but they were hyphier than we were. They was crazy, crazy. Like, yo, throwing ashtrays and stuff. The old people was crazy back then. We understand. We completely understand, girl, because us, we'd be like, oh, I wanted to, and I wanted to, and I wanted to. And then back in the day, girl, please, that dude head would have been leaking. That is crazy, girl. He's still sitting in the bed. His head would have been leaking.
Had it not been for the fact that I know I got a praying mother. I know I had a praying aunt. I know I've had a praying grandmother in heaven, because I'm telling you, I clearly saw what was getting ready to happen had he not gotten up, got his shit, and got out of my house. So I'm trying to calmly say this because I'm trying to calmly tell this story because the rage had taken over me, the pure, unadulterated rage that I felt when he said to his aunt,
Child, and then she would have beat him up and he would have called the police on her. Like, thank the Lord, mama was just on the phone praying, y'all. Them prayers be working. Because he would have called the police on her. And the police would have arrested her. Oh my goodness. Heavens, heavens, heavens. Because you can't put your hands on people. We understand this now, okay? You can't put your hands on people, period. So, girl, it's the prayers, because, girl, we be seeing red. You know, you
I
know.
never lied to her after I had discovered only 2% of the lies at that point. Just 2%. So it was enough for me to be like, you need to get your stuff and go. So my mother gets on the phone and she says to him, Legion, she called him by name. She said, I am not there to control my daughter. She said, in the name of Jesus, get your stuff and get out that house because I think she might kill you. Get out of the house. She's on my phone. His aunt is on his phone. His aunt said, nephew, come home. Home for her was Philly. She said, I'll send you money. Come home. Leave that house right now. She said, because I think that that woman is about to kill you. Let's go. Let's just go to part 34. Let's all just take a deep breath. Part 34. Who the fuck did I marry?
Child,
So,
y'all, take a deep breath and relax y'all eyebrows. Relax your eyebrows, girl. My eyebrows is over here like one turned up, the other one is turned up, but one is way up. Then, like, girl, relax. Let's do some mouth exercises real quick, cause I feel all the tenseness, y'all. Girl, I got one hand up, just and what's about to happen next? Because for real, child, the auntie told him to get out of there, cause that woman about to, boy, that woman gonna take you out. Oh man.
the aunt told him, I'll
Okay,
send you money, come home. And I'm yelling in the background, by the way. I'm not standing there calmly. I'm yelling. I said, oh, he got money. Yeah, you got money. You got money in that offshore account, right? You got money in that Chase account. You got money to drive. So do what you got to do. I told him, and I'm not going to repeat some of the stuff I said because my mom might see this TikTok. But I did tell him, I was like, if you don't get out of this house, you going actually what I said was you have two options. You either gonna leave this house voluntarily or you're gonna leave this house involuntarily. And he tried to get a little nuck if you buck. He tried. And that's when because he was still on the bed, still laying in the bed. And he was just like, you ain't gonna do shit. Like, don't talk to me like you done lost your fucking mind. Da, da, da. And I calmly got close to him. I got like this close. And I literally said, I will beat you like the bitch you are. I dare you to try me. I said, I will literally beat you like the male bitch you are. And so when I said that, his eyes were like, I said, I'm not even playing. Because at this point I'm rocking like back and forth. Y'all, again, I'm not some hardened type chick. I'm not. I want the soft lifestyle, but I had been pushed to the point. So I'm rocking, I'm walking back, I'm pacing. So finally, his aunt was able to get through to him. I had called my aunt, my mother, my aunt. I had called the pastor. I had called all these people because I did know that I was in a very dangerous place. Not because I'm scared of him. At this point, I was scared of me. I don't know if this has ever happened to someone where you know yourself. You know that you got a line. I was over that line. So I had enough wherewithal to be like, okay, you probably gonna go to jail today. You probably gonna go to jail. Um, you probably ain't gonna have that job in the morning. Like I was there. And again, this is not to sound bragging at all. This was a woman who I could not believe that even with the attempt of me trying to give him one last opportunity to tell me the truth, he still lied in my face. I was at my edge. So I yanked the covers back and um I told him, I was like, get up, get the fuck out of my house. Again, I'm saying it calmly on here. It was nothing calm in the house when this happened. So I'm throwing stuff up against the wall. Um, I remember I looked at the lamp. He looked at me looking at the lamp, and I think something in him realized, okay, I yeah, I'm in pain, but if I don't get up, she's going to do something with that lamp. So he does get up. He is still on the phone with the aunt because the aunt was pretty much like, keep me on the phone. She did not want him to hang up. He throws some stuff together. Again, keep in mind, he has all his stuff in the house. So he basically packed like 2 bags worth of clothes. And he's limping around, and I'm standing in the hallway watching him like a probation officer. So he's limping around. Um, and I'm looking at the condition of the bedroom. This is when I noticed Legion had been semi bedridden. Remember, I told y'all that because the knee and other stuff. I look at these bottles of Powerade because he had been drinking Powerade so much at this point. He was not getting up to go to the bathroom. He was drinking the Powerade and then using the empty bottles to pee in. So there was about 6 bottles around the bed. And I was like, what is this? Because again, I hadn't really been going in that room. I was busy being.
I would have been so pissed off. What in the hell? And so what is, oh, hey, child, no.
CIA, FBI, and Homeland Security for the past 2 weeks. So I was like, what is this? He was like, I'm going to throw it out. He grabbed a trash bag, put the bottles in there. And I said, what are in those bottles? I said, tell me. And I think I started like twitching, like, tell me that is not piss in those bottles. He was like, I couldn't make it to the bathroom. I was in too much pain. So at this point, I'm even more like, yeah, get the fuck out. Get out. Um, get out of my house. So I helped him while he was packing his bags. I went downstairs. I took the house key off of his keys. Um, I went back upstairs. He had his 2 bags. I grabbed the 2 bags. Yes, I did. I grabbed the 2 bags. I had opened up the garage. I had already popped the trunk for his car and threw the bags in the car. I did that because I was like, you getting out this house. You getting out this house today. You can't come back. You can't come back ever. So I had it took him about 2 hours from the time of I will beat you like the bitch you are for him to actually leave the house. Again, I'm calm telling y'all this story. It was not calm in the house. So he eventually puts on some sweatpants. Now I can really see how much weight he has lost. But he puts on some sweatpants, he puts on a shirt, he's limping down. He's like, you really gonna kick me out on my birthday? I just looked at him. I just looked at him. Opened the door. He went through the garage, got into his car, called, his aunt was still on the phone and she was like, I'm gonna send you some money. And that's the part I was like, clearly he has the money. Like, you ain't gotta send him money. He doesn't even have to go to Philly. He can just go get a hotel for now. I don't care what he does. He just gotta leave his house. So he ends up getting in the car, driving off. My mom calls and she's just like, is he still there? I said no. Um, I had not told her what all he had lied about. Even in the midst of me being angry and me going off, I never told him that I spoke to the ex wife. I never told him I knew he was lying about the stepdaughter because then he would have asked what makes you say that? So I did keep my word. I never told him I spoke to her. So he eventually left. I text a friend of mine. I text my landlord. I said, I have an emergency. I need to know if it is okay to get the locks changed. Landlord was like, that's fine. My landlord was super cool. Shout out to Mr. Patel. Um, I went to Home Depot, bought brand new locks. Text a friend of mine, asked him, when you get off work, can you please come by my house? I need the locks changed today. So he was like, oh, okay, what's going on? I said, I'll explain it later. So, to give you a timeline of June 17th, when I asked him about San Diego State and I told him that I know you've never even been to California, that was about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. By the time he left the house, it was maybe going on noon, 1 o'clock. So this happened pretty quickly. Um, if you're wondering why did you even ask him, I already knew that I wanted out. I knew that. But for some reason, a part of me was like, let's just see if he'll be honest just one last time. And he wasn't. And it sent me into a rage. And then he lied to his aunt, saying, I ain't never lied to her. And that sent me over the edge. So by 1 o'clock, by 1:30, he was gone. By 2:30, I had done a pretty good job of cleaning up the bedroom. He had thrown away the Powerade bottles. So I didn't have to touch those. I stripped the sheets. Anything that he touched in that bedroom, I stripped the sheets, threw them in the trash bag, threw them out in the trash can. And so most of this was adrenaline. Adrenaline was pushed because I hate packing. I hate doing all that stuff. I went on Amazon. I ordered oversized, large tote bags because I was packing up all his shit. Part 35. Who the fuck did I marry? So I packed up all his stuff. Okay. The reason why I packed up all his stuff is because I had a 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath townhome. One room was the guest room. Obviously, there was a master bedroom. And then we had a TV room that he had made like his Philadelphia Eagles man cave. I was going to put everything that belonged to him, pack it up, and put it in the TV room because the plan should have been that he's going to come back and get all his stuff. Okay. So that's why I did it. Um, and honestly, it just felt good to pack up his stuff and go through it freely. Because when he packed in a hurry, he left obviously really important things. He left all his Invicta watches, he left all his WWE championship belts. And if you know anything about WWE championship belts, you know those things are expensive. He left all his Jordans. He left suits. He left Cole Haan shoes. He left all that because it was such a hurry for him to leave. So all that was still in my house. Um, so around 2:30, I think I wasn't even at a place where I could start crying. I was just too angry, still shaking, packing everything up, packing everything up. One of the things that he left is a photo album with all the pictures of his mom and dad and his siblings growing up. Now, I had the thought of I was going to have a burn party and I was going to put it on Facebook Live. I was going to burn it with my friends and drink and dance and play music. But it's his deceased parents. I do have a heart. So I put that somewhere special, meaning I put it up in the closet. Um, had told me that he was going to come back and get his stuff. And so I just did not, I didn't throw anything out unless it was like something I knew was trash. Other than that, I put everything up and kept it, in the TV room. So that's June 17th. Also on June 17th, I had already ordered his birthday cake. I had ordered the birthday cake like the end of May because it was like a special birthday cake. So I also had to go get the birthday cake from the bakery in East Point. Um, and I took it to my family's house and we ate it. Yes, I had left the house, went to my family's house, filled them in, my aunt, my little cousin, and my grandfather, because my mom was in Arkansas. So went over to their house, filled them in on what was going on. They could not believe it. Although my grandfather then told me, he said, he ain't look like he was a football player. He was like, I ain't want to say nothing, but he ain't look like he was a football player. Gotta love grandparents. So we ate his birthday cake, went back home. The friend that I had called came, changed all the locks, I changed the security codes. Um, Effectively, he would not have been able to get in that house. So that is what happened on June 17th. So now we can fast forward. He would text me and he would call me that he got to Philly. Apparently he drove through, he left Georgia and immediately went to Philly. So he immediately went to Philly, and he did text me and said that he made it to Philly and he was staying at his aunt's house. I know that this is a short part. That's okay, because what we're doing now is I went through how we met, I went through how we dated, I went through how we got married. Um, Now I'm taking you all to June 17th. The week after June 17th, he's in Philly. He still would call me. He still would text me. The conversations we were having the week after June 17th, so this would be June 18th up to the 24th. The conversations we are having had to do with divorce. So, who's going to file? And he was like, well, I don't want a divorce, so I'm going to fight you on it. Are you? Really? Are you going to fight me on the divorce? Um, I didn't know anything about filing for divorce. So, but I refused to stay in a place of ignorance. So I went online. There's a website that you can go to where you pay like a $200, $239 fee, and you fill out basic information and you choose your state. You choose your state, and they will um, process, not process, but they will make all your documents. All you got to do is print it out and take it to the court, and it is step by step directions. We didn't have any property with each other, we didn't have any kids with each other. So by the state of Georgia's standards, this should be an uncontested divorce. So the conversation that last week, the week of June 18th to the 24th, was about divorce. What stuff do you want to keep? Well, I'm gonna come and get all my stuff. I just don't understand why you couldn't talk to me about it. I said, there's no room for talking because you've been lying to me since day one. But even still, keep in mind, as of June 17th, June 18th, June 19th, I did not know what I know now. So the lies were really only like 5% of the whole story. So June 24th or 25th is when I had printed my documents. And I'm laughing because at this point in time, I've read y'all's comments about how that
I'm
man will
really
print out
watching y'all
stuff. I
now.
know.
Shit.
But I used the website.
I didn't set all close. I'm really interested now. Like, what's gonna happen next? I kind of got bored a little bit, and now my interest has picked back up a little bit. So we gonna see how long I stay, y'all. I'm getting on the edge of my seat at this point. I'm a little bit ready to go. We've been here for 2 hours, but we're gonna see how much longer I can stay.
Typed all my stuff in, got my documents, and then I went. I took a day off from the job because I was getting ready to transition into the new job. So I left work early, went to the courthouse, and filed for divorce. I filed, I paid. Um, and then I already had the documents where he would have needed to sign so that it could then be entered into for a divorce settlement agreement. So going into part 36 or 35, I know there's so many parts. Going into the next part is where I can tell you guys what happened with him, because he drove to Philly And he was in Philly for about a week, maybe 3 to 4 days. Then I get a message on Facebook Messenger from a woman claiming to be his cousin. Lord Jesus. So the cousin tells me, actually, I can tell y'all. So the cousin tells me that he's there. He's telling the family that I kicked him out. He's telling the family that I kicked him out after he walked in on me having an affair, that I stole his money, and I then kicked him out. And the man I was having an affair with, he said, was a law enforcement officer who used his duty weapon to threaten him to get out the house. This is what he told his family. And the cousin was reaching out to me. She found me through a search on Facebook and was reaching out to me because she's like, we know he lies. So
Right. And remember, the auntie was on the phone the whole time. The auntie was on the phone the entire time when she was saying, he don't need no money. Get the money from the offshore account. Get the money from the Chase account. So the auntie heard the entire argument. She heard everything. Why would he go and try to lie? Child by.
I'm just trying to figure out like, is this true? Because he's up here asking us for money, asking to stay on our couches. Like, what's going on? Then she explained to me, we didn't even know he got married. So this is the first time we're hearing about you. What do you mean you didn't know he got married? He talks to his brother every day.
Child. So what auntie was on the phone?
She said, who told you that? I said, I've heard him talk to his brother every day.
What?
All his brothers. She said, all his brothers.
Oh my God. Man. Now, if y'all checked out the other videos, remember I was stuck on these phone calls. I'm just like, she keep talking about these phone calls and saying she's going to explain the phone calls to us. Something's not right with the phone calls, y'all. And I figured this man been talking to himself the entire time. So the cousin says, what brothers? And they didn't even know he was married. So what the hell auntie was on the phone the entire 2 damn hours y'all was arguing? And what and mm-mm, child, mm-mm,
How many brothers do you think he has?
child bye.
I said
I'm
he has four
done.
brothers. I
I'm too
named
done.
them. She said he has two brothers. She said he has the twin and he has the older brother. I said twin. Who is the twin? Welcome to the next part where we discover the real.
Hold on. I'm just trying to guess ahead, y'all. I'm about to get off of here. I promise we've been here too long. But don't tell me he's been showing her pictures of the twin brother the whole time. Because remember, she said he showed me pictures of him in the house in California. He showed me pictures of him in front of the car. Is he sending pictures of his twin brother the whole time? Oh my goodness gracious. What the heck? And that's why they say this definitely needs to be a Lifetime series or a Netflix series, a Lifetime movie, something. This man got a whole twin brother. Child. Now y'all understand. Oh my gosh. You remember in part, I don't even know what part. He talks to his brother on the phone every single morning. He said that his brother was getting off of work and that he would be getting ready for work. So that was the opportunity for him to talk to his brother every freaking morning. Mm, child. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I am blown away. This dude got a twin brother.
Real family tree.
Oh, hell no.
Part 36. Who the fuck did I marry? the family tree. Please fasten your seatbelts and put the tray tables in the upright position. Let's go. All right. The cousin, I'm not going to
Seatbelt
name her. The
passing.
cousin had reached out to me on Facebook, asked me to please give her a call. So this conversation was on the phone. Yes, I was actually speaking to
On the
her.
real phone, right?
She informs me again about the whole he's up there. He's telling everyone that he walked in on me cheating on him. It was with a law enforcement officer, and that the law enforcement officer used his duty weapon to threaten him to get him out of the house. The reason why I'm particularly mentioning the fact that he said it was law enforcement is because he was trying to get a family member, like one of his cousins, to call the agency
Wow.
of the law enforcement officer and file a complaint, which in hopes would then start an internal affairs investigation.
Complete creep.
Yeah. So,
Whole creep.
female cousin's on the phone with me. She's telling me everything that he is telling them. She's like, "Look, we know he a liar. We don't fuck with him. He's been a liar since a kid, but he's also family." She said, "We didn't know at all who you are." So, I thought that that was interesting because I was like, "You didn't know who I was, but his brother knew who I was." And so, again, that's when I said to her that I was like, I've talked, he's talked to his brother every day. So why wouldn't the brother tell y'all that he had gotten married? And so she said, "What brother?" And so I told her the brother's name. And she said, "He told you that?" I said, "He was having the phone calls in front of me." So at this point, what the cousin said was, she was like, "Okay, I'm gonna confirm that with him." She was like, "He lives up the street, so I'm gonna just confirm that with him." She was like, "Because I'm pretty sure that they have been beefing for a while." I was like, "I can
Crazy.
only tell you
That man is
what
crazy.
I saw, what I heard. That's all I can say." So then when she asked me about, "Well, how many brothers do you think he has?" And I said he has four brothers. Again, I listed all of them. This woman was like, "He has two brothers." She said he has the twin, and he has the older brother, the one that he was on the phone with every morning, blah 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 blah. I said, "Twin? Who's the twin?" So this is where she explained to me. She
Child.
said the parents, mom and dad, had the older brother. The older brother is about 5 or 6 years older than Legion. Legion and the younger brother, who lives in Nashville, they are twins. So when he kept saying the younger brother, my younger brother by 2 years, it's his older brother by 20 minutes. They are twins. I have seen a picture of this brother. Yes, they do very much look alike, but I didn't know they were twins. It doesn't even matter. I didn't know they were twins. But definitely they had the same mom and dad. So she was like, "No, that he's older than Legion by 20 minutes. They're twins." She said, so the parents had three boys, brother in Philly, the older brother, and the twins. She was like, "Who the hell are these sisters that you're talking about?" So I tell her, I was like, "Shantae and Kim." She said, "I don't know who Shantae is." She said, "Kim is my daughter.
Oh Lord.
Kim is not his sister. Kim is my daughter." And she said, "That's his cousin." She was like, "And they haven't spoken in about 20 years. So, no, that's not his sister. He does not have any sisters." And I said, "Well, then what about the other two brothers?" She was like, "What other two brothers?" I said, "The brothers from his dad." She was like, "You mean to tell me this man is going around telling people, I know somebody's going to quote Nicki Minaj, lying on your dead mama, but try not to." She says, "You mean
Try
to
not
tell me
to.
this man is walking around lying on his dad, saying that his dad had kids outside of his mom?" And I kind of stuttered, like, "Yeah." She was like, "He does not." She said, "I have no idea who those two men are." She said, "Those are not his brothers.
Child.
But if y'all remember, I've met those two." And he introduced them as, "Man, this is my brother John. This is my brother Matt." type thing. And so they both were like, "Oh, my sister, it's good to meet you. It's good to meet you." Remember that, because obviously I do eventually talk to those two men again. So she says to me, the family tree is mom and dad, the three sons. She was like, there are no sisters.
God
She said, I
damn.
don't have a clue who Shantae
Hell
is. She said,
no.
Kim is my daughter, so that's just their cousin. But again, they ain't spoken 20
Hell no. Now remember I questioned y'all. Oh, if y'all not keeping up, y'all not keeping up, child. And it might have been part 10 through something. Let me see. I'm gonna tell you almost exactly which one I questioned it in. Because he wanted her to let the sister take her to the hospital for the DNC, but she had never met the sister. And I'm like, ain't no dang on way. Somebody I ain't never met gonna come and take me to the dang on hospital. That don't even make sense. But it's not even really his sister. And I questioned if that was somebody he was sleeping with. I think it might have been parts 6 through 9. It's on my channel. Who the heck did I marry? Part 6 through 9, pathological husband. I questioned how he would want her to let a sister that she never even met take her to the hospital for a DNC. And then I questioned, I'm like, and that's probably not even his dang on sister. He probably sleeping with her. Child. He ain't got no sister that live in Douglas County, y'all. He don't have a sister at all. Oh my gosh. Mm-mm. Oh
years.
no.
I said, okay. And then there was the grandmother. She said, yeah.
Heck no.
She named the grandmother. She was like, yeah, she died in like 2008. I said, yeah, he told me that she died in 2020, and that, all of you were coming down for the memorial service. And she's just like, she died in 2008. I said, then there was the uncle who also died from COVID. She was like, which uncle is that? I told her the name. She said, he's been dead since like shit 2010. I said, okay, what about the cousin nicknamed Junebug? Everybody got a cut. If you're not African American, we all
And this is why y'all don't need to be meeting men off of social media sites and moving them into your homes within 2, 3 weeks of knowing them. This is exactly why. Don't be meeting these men just randomly off of places, or even don't even meet them in person and move them up in your dang on house after a couple weeks. Anything could have really happened to her.
know a Junebug somewhere. And she just was like, oh yeah, cousin Junebug. She was like, man, that's crazy what happened to him. And I was like, what do you mean what happened to him? Because I know he has talked to his cousin Junebug on the phone like a few months prior. He was like, and so she said to me, she said, yeah, he had passed away in like 2016. So this is now three people that she's naming that I recall him having either a story about or a phone call with. And she's telling me that they are all passed away. So this is when the conversation kind of changes. And she's like, you know what? She said, let me speak to the older brother, um, because he probably wants to talk to you. She was like, you probably should talk to him, and a lot of your answers, a lot of your questions will get answered. She was like, this dude's been lying ever since he was a kid. She was like, she said, literally, we don't fuck with him. I remember her saying that verbatim. She was so adamant. She was like, and when he showed up here out the blue, talking about how his wife cheated on him with a law enforcement officer, and how the guy took his gun out and threatened him to leave the house. She was like, we knew something was up. She was like, that's why I had to find out who you were and reach out to you and find out the truth. I said, there was no other guy. There was no law enforcement officer. And she was like, yeah, because he was telling us where the dude worked and how we should go ahead and file, like help him file a complaint so that this dude could lose his job. I said, there is no other person. I said, I kicked him out. That was me, all by myself. No gun, just my fist. Um, And so she said, he's telling us that he had gotten married, and then she was like, apparently y'all had a baby. So she was like, so you got a kid with him? So I had explained to her, I said, no, I said I had a miscarriage back in July, or excuse me, back in June of 2020, and I had to have surgery in July. So she was just like, girl. So she started like really being encouraging and was saying, you dodged a bullet, honey. She was like, I don't wish this. She's like, I know he my family, but I don't wish him on no woman. So we've had each other's numbers. She was like, if you need anything, please feel free to call me. She was like, I've had my own issues with him. I've had my own issues in life. But she was like, get your divorce and be done with him. Then she said, I'm going to put you in contact with the older brother. Next part is me finally talking to the older brother that he had been talking to every morning. Part 37, who the fuck did I marry? So at this point in time, I have filed for divorce. I paid for the filing fee. I'm representing myself pro se, and it should be an uncontested divorce. During this time, Legion had driven to Philly, lied to his family, and said I had cheated on him, that he caught me, and that the guy I cheated on him with was a law enforcement officer who used his gun to threaten him to get out the house. None of that was true. At some point while he was in Philly, he ran out of options in terms of where he could stay. Family members did not want him to stay with them. Apparently, a lot of bridges were burned, according to the female cousin I had talked to on the phone. So he left Philly and went to Augusta. Yes, what you were hearing is correct. He drove from Georgia to Philly, stayed in Philly for about 3, 4 days, left Philly, drove back to Georgia, went to Augusta. Keep in mind, if you have lost your notes at this point, he was raised in Philly and did high school in Augusta before he went to California. So he has family in Augusta. So at this point, he's on his way to Augusta to stay with a new set of people. The reason why this is important is because what I have is a divorce settlement agreement. That divorce settlement agreement has to be signed by the two of us, where we are basically telling the court, look, this is what he's keeping, this is what I'm keeping. I need his signature. Let me repeat that. I need his signature because I wanted a very quick and painless divorce as much as it could be. So by this time, this is now around June 25th. So around June 25th, he's now in Augusta. He had left the house June 17th. So between June 17th and June 24th is the trip to Philly, then leaving Philly, coming to Augusta. Um, my aunt and my little cousin get in the car with me and I drive to Augusta with a rag on my head, some sweatpants, and a tank top because it's July, so it's hot. But we ride to Augusta. I had spoken to him. I had said, I just need you to sign this piece of paper, and he was like, I'll get to it when I get to it. No, no, no. We're going to get to it as quickly as possible. So if that means I got to drive to Augusta tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, I'm gonna do that because I need that signature. I ain't telling this. This was my attitude. Sure enough, went ahead, drove down there. I met him at the UPS store in Augusta. It's in the same Kroger shopping center. They had a notary there because I needed the papers to be notarized. So he pulls up. It's only been a week since I last saw him. It has been months since my aunt saw him. Okay. She had no idea of the condition that he was in. Again, I'm telling y'all, when I met him, when he met my family, he was like a size 3X. In just a short span of time for a week, he easily could have been in an extra large, maybe even a large, but was wearing 3X clothes. So he has told me this whole time He didn't know I had spoken to his family. Okay. Probably need to put that in there. He did not know I had spoken to his cousin. So he was telling me that he had a place to stay. He was staying with some family members, and everything was cool. He told me he was going back to Augusta because he had a job. That's what he told me. The family member, the cousin, told me, "Oh no, it's not that he had a job. We kicked his ass out because he's still lying, and we don't want anything to do with him." So when I saw him get out the car, I immediately knew you probably have not washed in 3 days. I'm not overreacting. His nails had not been cut, so his nails were a bit long. He smelled like the Chattahoochee dump on a hot summer Georgia day. He stunk so bad. Um, and for a moment, I did not recognize the man that I was legally married to. I did not recognize him. Um, he almost looked, what's the word, emaciated. I may be saying, I may be mispronouncing it, but the way someone looks when they have lost so much weight and it's almost like your skin and bones. He looked, obviously he looked homeless. He smelled homeless. um and my heart just
Okay, if you're going through TikTok, you will see that people say that they located him um, on an HIV support group. They located his name and him on an HIV support group. So I'm not sure if that's what was going on with his leg and if that's why he looks emancipated now. Yeah, child, child. I don't know if that's true or not. That is alleged, but people are saying that they allegedly located him in a support group for that issue.
kind of broke. It kind of did. I'll be honest, it kind of broke. It did not break enough for me to not get that signature though. So when he walked into the UPS store, you clearly could see that some of the people were like, let me get away from him. Me, I just was like, okay, so I just need you to sign right here, and I just need you to sign right there. Okay. And then woman named Lauren came over and notarized the papers. And then we were done because he signed a divorce agreement. He didn't even read it. He didn't even read it. Reason why I'm pointing that out is because he didn't read the part where what's left in the house now belongs to me, where he took technically what he was going to take. Everything.
Oh, she did that. Mm-mm-mm. She definitely did that. After telling us that he left his watches and his expensive WWE stuff and the apparel and he left all his expensive shoes and everything. Then she puts in the divorce agreement that everything that's remaining in the home is hers. And his dumb self didn't even read it. Oh my goodness. Girl, what you do with them belts and stuff? What did you do with his stuff? Did you sell it off? You put it on eBay or something? Oh, she did that. She definitely
Everything else in
did.
that home belongs to me. Remember, I
Dang.
told y'all he had left all his Invicta watches. He had left all his
Did.
WWE championship belts, his Jordans, his a lot of his clothes, his Cole Haans. He had left all that stuff. He never even read the divorce agreement. So he signed it. I signed it. Lauren notarized it. We leave the store, and I said, "Have you eaten?" And he was like, "Yeah, I ate. It's just my knee." So again, he's talking about the knee, but if you saw him, you would know there's way more to it than the knee. So I said to him, "Look, since you met me here, let me give you some money so you can get you some chicken nuggets." Yeah, that's what I said. You can get you some chicken nuggets. So I believe I gave him like $5 or $6. Go get you some chicken. I think I zelled it to him actually. Just go get you some food. Then because where he parked was not far. It was like, okay, I'm parked here. He's parked in front of me in the other row. So there's that aisle that you can drive down. So I walked him to the car and I saw the condition of the inside of the car. And that's when I knew he's been living in his car. He's been living in his car. So clearly, I no longer had a question of, so where's this offshore account? Where's the US bank savings account? Where's the checking account? Didn't have that question anymore. Because if you had money, you wouldn't be living in your car. You would not be in the same clothes that you were in when you left my house on June 17th. And this is now June 25th. So he was like, I'm gonna be all right. I'm about to start a new job. I'm gonna be cool. I got a family member I can stay with. Everything's gonna be okay. All right. I said, I will let you know when the divorce is granted. I said, I will send you a copy of the divorce decree. And he was like, okay. He said, well, how long you think that's going to take? I said, I'm not sure. I thought I had to wait 30 days before I could file the divorce agreement settlement form. And then the judge would grant it in 30 days. So basically, this is like June 25th. I'm looking at the end of August that it would take for the divorce to be granted, assuming there were no hiccups, assuming he didn't decide he was going to pull a fast one. So I told him, I was like, I'm gonna file this, and then once we get the divorce decree, I'll send you a copy. He said, okay. He got in his car. I got in my car. I drove all the way back home, and he went to wherever he went. Next part is the next series of lies that I was faced with. All right, part 38 of Who the Fuck Did I Marry? I'm going to call this housekeeping and missing pieces. So, housekeeping. First and foremost, as much as I know you all have enjoyed this series, and some of you have told me how entertaining you have found it, the story will be done this weekend. So, in other words, I don't care how many parts I got to film, it will be done this weekend. We're not going to drag it into the new week. So I just want to let everyone know that. So please be sure to tell your sisters, your mamas, your aunties, your cousins, your best friends, hey y'all, go ahead and watch all the parts because she's saying she's wrapping it up this weekend. But I'll leave the playlist up, so don't worry. Also, let's see. I'm sorry for the people who were like, I keep talking really slow. I didn't know that I was. And they're like, you're just long winded. I'm very detailed. So that's probably what you're feeling, is that I'm detailed and I'm trying to get everything out again in a responsible manner. So you all have asked me if I will do a live. Yes, I will. I don't have any issue doing a live. I feel like if you're going to put the story out there, you know you're going to get questions. So if you stand on business and you stand on what you said, do the live. So yes, I will do a live, and I will let you all know when I'm gonna do a live. So it won't just be some random shit. I will actually do a live and let everyone know. So that way, if you have questions, bring them. The issue with doing a live is that I need moderators. So because I just anticipate a lot of people have questions and I'm just one person, and I don't want to be accused of she's ignoring my question, which means there's holes in her story. Y'all, we all know how TikTok is. So, but I will absolutely do a live. That's the housekeeping. Missing pieces. So when I said before that it's important to me that I'm responsible in how I tell this story, meaning I'm clear and I go in detail, I realized that I left out some missing parts. And it was brought to my attention by a number of you. Thank you, because I'm all for accountability. I did not go into how my ex-husband Legion left the condiment company and then went to Apple. I also did not go into detail on when my mom came to visit. Both of those were in the month of April. I was going to go into detail a little bit more on the Apple situation because, as you probably have figured out, of course, something came out later on. But nevertheless, in terms of April of 2021, my mom came for a visit. She lived in Arkansas. She came to visit us. She came to visit us after we had that whole sexting on Facebook incident and just after we had started marital counseling. There were no fireworks during her visit. Nothing was weird. I did talk about how, my family has always been there. And if you spoke with my mom, she would tell you she didn't see anything out of the ordinary. But there was something in her spirit that just didn't sit right. She didn't talk to me about it at the time. She did not raise her concerns. She simply, when she came to visit, we welcomed her with open arms. Legion was excited to meet her. She was excited to meet him. We took my mom out to eat. It was a typical, very quiet, non-active visit. I didn't know what my mother thought until later on. So she didn't share with me during the visit, something don't seem right. She and I sat in the guest room talking. I never told her anything that was going on. Number one, because again, it goes back to that mindset of what happens in my marriage needs to stay in my marriage. And I talk about how I didn't think looking back, it was not a good idea that I told my aunt what had happened. My aunt is not the type that's going to tell my mother that, in other words, if you confide in her, she keeps it between you and her. So my mom never knew that there were any issues. And so there was nothing for her to be on mama bear mode. Had she known, this would have been a very different trip, but she didn't know. So she did come to visit. Everything went fine. He and I put on a united front. Oh, we're so happy. We're so, in love. And yes, behind the scenes was a whole different story. He talked to her about how he was looking to buy a house and how he told her how work was going, how his job, how his job was going, bragging as usual, which I did tell my mom, look, he's going to talk about himself and money a lot. So, just change the subject. If he brings up a house, change the subject. That was my instructions to her because I was like, I don't even want to get into the whole house situation. So other than that, uneventful. Now, once my mom left, this is still in April, everything was fine with him at the condiment company. As far as I knew, everything was fine. What ended up happening is he randomly came home one day and starts complaining about changes that are going on at the company. When he started complaining about those changes, it was things like, keep in mind, he is not VP of the company. He was VP of, I keep getting it wrong, but I think it was VP of production is what the memo says. So he was not the second in command for the company. He was upset that he was being blamed for production stats, that the production was down. He was upset that his plant manager apparently had resigned. He was upset that some of the policy changes that were coming into play that would affect his plant. These are the things that he was coming home and complaining about. Literally, he would complain. He started complaining Monday. By Friday, he said, you know what, if they continue doing this, then I just need to find another job. He was like, I think I'm going to call my homeboy that I work with at Apple and I'm going to see, what they have available. Yes, there were red flags going up. Of course there were. At this point, we're not even dealing with United Nations of red flags. We are dealing with the Olympics. We are dealing with the parade of all nations. Everybody got a red flag. So when he said that, I was kind of like, okay, because I had become numb to all the antics that he did. I was numb to it. So he literally said, I think I'm going to call my homeboy and I'm going to see what's at Apple. My response to him was, well, what about your salary? would you take a pay cut? He was like, no, I'm not going to take a pay cut. Like, I wouldn't leave unless it's going to be the same amount or more money. Y'all, the next week, last week of April, I'm at work, minding my own business. He calls me and tells me, I've decided to resign. You what? I've decided to resign. Don't worry. Don't get all crazy. I had talked to my homeboy. There is a position at Apple, and I'm on my way there now to go and meet him so that I can get some information on the position. We're married, y'all. We're married. So what I said to him was, well, will you get all this in writing? His words to me were, of course I'm going to get it in writing. I'm not stupid. You know what? I don't even want to talk to you no more. Click. That's the end of April. So that is how I was introduced to this Apple job. Again, if you stick with this series, you will find out exactly what happened. But that's how I was introduced to the Apple job. It literally was in a span of within 2 weeks. And he resigned from the condiment company and immediately said, I'm going to move over to Apple. Just wanted to clarify that. So we will continue on. Part 39, who the fuck did I marry? Everything you're going to hear probably in this part and the next part, all of this happens in the month of July 2021. Divorce has been filed. It was filed the end of June. I got his signature on the divorce settlement agreement. I thought that I had to wait 30 days before I could actually file that with the court. And so this is kind of in the limbo period because I'm still within those 30 days. So he left a book bag
I'm getting
at
bored
the
again,
house, a
y'all.
book bag that had all kind of paperwork in there.
Child, I'm getting bored.
Inside the book bag, this is the
I'm
paperwork that I
trying.
found. Number one, I found a packet from the condiment company where it showed his 401k contributions. It also stated in there that he had been terminated.
Oh, Lord.
So he was terminated from the condiment company according to the paperwork in the packet that I saw in the book bag that he left at my house. Also in the book bag were paycheck stubs from a previous job where he worked at a cemetery.
Oh, my.
The same cemetery that he took me to show me where his grandmother and grandfather were buried. So let's go ahead. I'll do this video and say, this is what he told me. This is what I confirmed. He told me his grandmother and grandfather were buried there. He showed me a headstone with a family name on it. If you go back in previous parts, I talk about it. The truth is they are not buried there. He is of no relation to the people who are buried at that particular gravesite. Only reason why he knew about it is because he had worked there. Also in the book bag, it was a copy of a driver's license that he had. The address on the driver's license, now this I still don't have an answer to, but the address on the driver's license was the same address as the cemetery, because I looked it up on Google. Also in the book bag was paperwork from another construction company job, meaning
I think that means that he was probably homeless, the same as he was probably when he met you, the same as he was when you put him out. He was homeless and he was working at the cemetery, and the cemetery let him use the address, or not the cemetery, but the manager, the owner of the cemetery, his manager, his boss, let him use the address of the cemetery to receive his driver's license. I'm pretty sure that's how that happened. It's pretty easy to explain that one. The man was homeless and he needed an address. He needed an address. He used the job. This man been homeless for how long, girl? Child, he was homeless before he met you. He wasn't even living in the. Did she ever actually go to the studio that he was supposedly living in? Cause remember when When the lockdown came, she said that we had to figure out if we were going to quarantine at my house or at his studio. His studio, it was small. Did she ever actually go to that studio? Did he actually have a studio? Hmm. I don't know, y'all.
It was paycheck stubs from another construction company here in Atlanta that he had worked for. It did not have dates on it, so I don't know when he worked for the construction company. Also in the book bag paperwork was unemployment paperwork. So it looked like he had been receiving unemployment
Told y'all.
just before I met him. I met
Told
him in
y'all.
March.
Ding, 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 ding. Motherfucking ding. I freaking told y'all. That's where the dang on money was coming from. Because he had a little bit of money that he was just splurging off. Remember, as soon as he moved in, he started paying the rent. He paid her rent. He paid the light bill, the gas bill. He paid all the bills for the house. She only paid her car insurance and I believe her phone bill. He was paying everything else. And they were going to Home Depot. They picked out the appliances for the house that he faked with. Um, he put deposits down for all them appliances. So he had some money somewhere, but he was doing the unemployment fraud stuff. That's crazy. This guy, oh no. Oh no,
It
no,
looked
no,
like he had
no,
been
no.
receiving unemployment January and February. So
Child.
once again, let's confirm. He did not work for the condiment company for 6 to 7 years. Also in there were scraps of paper from a temp agency where it was information on the job that he had been placed at. Where was that job? The condiment company. He would be a forklift slash loader is what it said. So I interpret that to mean he can drive a forklift, but he would have been loading up the 18 wheelers for them to go out to their deliveries. Also in this book bag was paperwork from Clayton County courts, I believe, um, for a weekend. What is it called? A weekender jail. It was like a weekender jail receipt. So I had to do some research. So apparently, what that means is that there is an option where if you have a job, let's say you were sentenced to 60 days in jail, but you have a full-time job. Apparently the court can say, okay, you'll go to jail on the weekends. So in other words, you have to report to the jail on Friday at 5 o'clock, and you'll be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You will get out Sunday at 6 o'clock. Apparently that's actually a real thing. So what was in the book bag were multiple yellow receipts for different week.
Yes, that's actually a real thing. That's a real thing. And I would have to say it's good for the people that they get into some type of trouble, but they do have employment. So they don't completely lose their jobs because they did something to get in trouble or you got too many traffic tickets or anything like that. So you can go and sit in there on the weekends and it takes your time off. You go in there, if you got to be in there for 15 days, then you just go in every weekend until your 15 days is done.
Weekends that he had to report and get out of jail.
What did he do though?
Last but not least, there were some additional pictures, and then there were some, and when I say pictures, I'm talking about family photos. And then there was another additional copy of his driver's license with the Douglasville address. I looked up that address. The name associated with that address was the same name as the ex-girlfriend that he had in between the ex-wife and me. If you go back to the video where I talk about the conversation I had with the ex-wife, she tells me that the address was going to come back to the ex-girlfriend. I'm simply saying that is correct. So what she told me is true. So because of everything that I found, I decided to go down a new rabbit hole. Again, just recapping what I said in previous videos. Ex-husband was always a stickler about law enforcement. His dad was a retired police officer. I'm just telling y'all the story. His dad was a retired police officer. Mom was a retired teacher. After his parents, after his dad retired, they moved to Augusta, started a church. He took me to that church in Augusta the same day that he took me to meet his aunt who lived in Augusta. So these are now things that he actually took me to, just like he took me to the cemetery. So that's what I found in the book bag. The Weekender jail receipts. I went ahead and went online to find out exactly why did he have to go to jail for the weekend. And I'm going to end this part here. The next part has to do with his criminal history.
Oh, child. Oh, child. We got to go here. Oh, my gosh. Ooh, y'all. We've been here for a very, very long time. 3 hours to be precise, y'all. 3 hours and a lot of minutes. I gotta go. I can't do it no more. I can't. I was just waiting for that part to end. Like, please, I ain't gonna end it in the middle. I'm not gonna end it in the middle, child. I got to go. I cannot do any more. 3 hours long. Um, I told y'all like 10 minutes ago. I'm getting bored again. I'm getting bored again. My brain is starting. My brain is cranking. It said, "We gotta go. We gotta go, bitch. It's 80 degrees outside. I'm going outside." Y'all have a wonderful day. Happy Tuesday. Happy Taco Tuesday. I'm going outside, y'all. I gotta get some sun, some vitamin D, if you know what I mean. I will talk to y'all in the next video, love bugs. Bye, y'all. If we can get out of here.